Hello and welcome to the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner and I'm here with James Farley.
Hello.
Matt Murray.
Hello.
And Sean Bell.
Hello.
We're going to start the show by thanking our Full Nels crew. They are the Patreon producers for this month, and they are the bloody best. They are Aaron Patrick, Simon Nelson, Tom S., Jack Oven, Moomin Biscuit, Richard Sawyer, Dave Ernsberger, Colin Brown, Gazman, Gabby Pereira, Graham McKay, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Man. They are the Full Nels crew. Come on.
How many weeks have we got before that gets old, do you think?
I mean, years.
Never.
I'm thinking years. If you would like to support us on what we do, if you enjoy the show and want to say thanks, please go to patreon.com/TCGS. You can thank us on there by subscribing to us on Patreon. And you know what? Even though you're saying thanks, and we should really just go, cheers, I appreciate that. Yeah, we don't do that. We also give you extra content for saying thank you. How's that? We're just so great, aren't we?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
You ever thought of it like that? You ever thought about it like that? Yeah? Since when have you gone to someone, they've done you a favour, and you've gone thank you, and they've gone, well, here's another favour, mate, for saying thank you. Think about that. We are basically Jesus.
They should actually pay us. They should pay us once to say thanks, and then we give them the stuff, and then they should probably pay us again. I think that's how it works.
It just keeps going up.
Yeah. So we just they pay us more. We give. Oh, there's another bonus show. Well, there's another £5 then, and it just keeps going back and forth until the end of time.
Until we're just driving around in brand new sports cars.
Yeah.
And they've got 40,000 hours worth of content to listen to.
Capitalism 101, mate.
Yeah, but could you imagine that? Like, after we've received like a few grand, did the podcast now go? What sweets did you like when you were a kid? Have we done that? No, we did that. We did that. What should we do? Do you want to read through the dictionary, James?
Toys from the 80s.
Dictionary.
Toys from the 80s.
Yeah, we did that in like hour 3.
We're thinking of doing Toys from the 80s as a talk's over, so don't present that as if it's like a shit bottom of the barrel idea.
Are we? I've not. This is the first I've heard of that.
Well, no, we talked about doing the Argos catalogue thing, didn't we?
Oh, that would be pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine that. Okay. This month, we're going to be looking through the Argos catalogue. No, that does sound... Maybe we should steer away from that, because that does sound like...
no, I think it'd be good as long as it doesn't just go into like, oh, do you remember this? Oh, look, there's a transformer.
I've got a lot to say about page 287. So, we can...
I remember this.
Save that.
I also remember this.
Save that for the end. Don't give all your tricks away, James. Right. I had a very exciting week this week because, I got vaccinated. Yeah, that's great. Shit. And then, the whole unlocking, the easing of restrictions meant that my buddy James Farley could visit. I was so excited. I mean, completely ruined. The evening was completely ruined by a little monster that decided that was the night he was just going to try and really push it with going to bed.
We're talking about James's... Oh, okay, right. Sorry.
No, it was Charlie.
Okay.
So that was a bit awkward. For 2 hours, James was just sitting in my front room, just going doo-doo, and like waiting for me to come out the kids' bedroom. It was quite annoying, but we had a cracking night, didn't we, James?
We did.
We watched Battle Star Wars. There might be a new series. Have you not heard of this, Sean?
No, what is it? Is this a fan thing?
No. It's a film that came out last year.
Right.
The full thing is on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
it must be good then.
Yeah. It's a complete, it's trying to be Star Wars, but obviously on the smallest budget I think I've seen.
So it's so it's not related to Star Wars at all. Okay.
No relation at all, but they've got like 3 sets basically for like the whole thing, and you're not ever clear where they are and why they're there either, which is quite amazing.
Yeah, and one of the hero characters, what is he walking around with, James?
He's walking around with a halo, with what's called an elite sword, like the whole time.
They literally just bought an elite sword replica thing, and he's walking around with it.
That's his weapon.
And it was about what did they call the Empire in it? I can't remember. The Coalition.
It was the Coalition
versus the Rebels, was it? I can't remember, but and we're sitting there and we're watching it and we're just going. I mean, the acting's terrible. The script is nonsensical. I mean, even more so than Star Wars. And we're sitting there, we're going, oh, do you reckon who made this film? Because these all look like porn star actors, right? like porn actors. I'm pretty sure they're all adult film actors. And we looked up at the history of the company that made the film, and they have released softcore porn. It's
all softcore porn, mostly.
And when you look into the cast themselves, a few of them have appeared in them. So it's like we weren't that far off.
Where do I recognise that person from? It's like, was it BBC? Was it BBC drama? No. Was it? It wasn't.
I mean, the acting was absolutely appalling.
I'm gonna have to Google it. I'm gonna have to.
Oh no! Actually, I don't recognise that person at all. Good. Let's move
James
on.
was like every scene. James was like, I'm kind of half expecting them to. Yeah, I know, James. I know. Same here. But let's just try and forget that. And what was the other funny thing? What was the guy's name? The actor's name we looked up, James.
Canyon Prince.
Canyon Prince was one of the actors, right? Mm-hmm. And imagine if I honestly I thought I was going to die. So we looked him up, we Googled him, and we Googled the cast, and Canyon Prince was on there. I pressed his thing, and I thought, is that the right character? Are we talking about the right actor? So I went to the image search. And clearly there's a shrub called Canyon Prince because it was just pages and pages of bushes.
It was just grass. It was just grass. It was just...
Yeah. And I said to him, could you imagine being an actor and like being so like unknown that when you click the image search, it's just pictures of grass instead of you. Like it was a very good night. I'm so glad to come over, James.
My other bit that I really loved with it was they did this whole bit that was like the Princess Leia thing with like the hologram, which was like they had this like hologram of this woman like talking, and then what they did was they'd shifted the camera angle so that you could see like the characters like standing facing you. But then obviously when they filmed the hologram bit, they hadn't filmed her from behind. So what they did was they just rotated it so that she was there like facing you as well. And you're just thinking,
at one point she's facing the camera, and at other points she's facing the character.
It made absolutely no sense whatsoever, but just looked so funny. It's just...
You got to see it. It's got to watch it. It's all on YouTube. Anyway, that's enough about our weekend. Should we get to feedback, Matt?
Yes, let's. We're going to start with Knobsock, one of my favourite listeners.
Sounds like a nice guy. What's he got to say?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say one of my favourite socks.
Your podcast is so... I mean, we'll leave it there. I'm sure that's very positive. Next bit of fit. No, your podcast is so dull. Oh, no. I stopped listening a year ago. He's still contacting us.
But that's not true, because we didn't... Yeah.
We didn't have a feedback form then.
Listening a year ago, haven't listened since day one. I can't believe so many people pay you money for this toss every month. Most of the show is news, which no one gives a crap about, and questions from the listeners. No more content at all. Joypod is far superior. I'm not an egg.
Amazing.
Right, okay. I mean, I would suggest this. Like, I always try and think of the person writing it, right? And let me just give a bit of advice. Yeah, if you don't like something, we don't care, and you don't need to tell us. You could just stop listening, mate. We don't. It's not like we're sitting there going, "Oh, I wonder what they think of it." You know, it doesn't bother us at all.
Oh,
do you not sit there thinking, "What does Knobsock think of this?" You don't do that.
No, I'm not. Like, you don't need to tell us that you don't like the show. It's fine. You can just keep that to yourself and go and find another podcast and listen to that, and I'm sure you'd love it and have a great time. You don't need to hear this. You don't need to tell us. It's fine. We're not going to change anything. Yes, it's a dull show, but it's not.
Guilty.
We don't care about that.
But it's our dull show. It's fine.
Yeah.
Some people like that about it. All right.
Knobsock's definitely listening.
Yeah.
I still think, can't we do like James's hate seller? You know, let's do something. Bring back some of the classics.
Bring that back.
That's every episode, isn't it? Basically, whatever I'm playing.
It's just every day of your waking life, isn't it? It's just
pretty much, yeah.
It certainly is. Look, Knobsock, I know you're listening to this, and I'm talking to you directly now. right? You don't need to get into contact. Go and listen to someone else. Turn this off. Go and find another podcast. I'm sure there's plenty out there that you enjoy, right? And also, don't pretend that you haven't listened for over a year, because we know you have. We know you have, and we know you're listening now. So, all right?
Do you think maybe he stopped listening, right? And then he was like, right, I'm going to set a calendar marker. If I'm still angry about this in 12 months' time, I'm going to fucking tell him. I'm tell him what I think.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Also, what was going on a year ago? That was like the start of the pandemic. So he didn't even cut us some slack.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
There's barely anything going out, and these guys are probably going through hell with their families and stuff. That's maybe why it's got a bit dull. Like, did that not cross your mind a year ago?
See, I also dispute that, because in the last year we've had the whole Anthem and Stadia saga, and that's been...
Actually, you're doing us no favours there, James. You are doing us no favours there, mate.
It's a great year for news.
You're making it worse, if anything.
I mean, James, Knobsock clearly says most of the show is news, so I'm putting it down to you.
Hang on a minute. What if James sent this in to then be like, "Oh yeah, we should shorten the news. We should get rid of it." Really,
you're absolutely right. I mean, this is what it is. Isn't
two stories max, I think, is the thing.
Because he didn't do the news on Joypod either, and he said he liked it on Joypod. He liked
Joypod.
True.
Yeah.
And Knobsock is an anagram of James Farley.
It is. Oh my god, I've cracked it.
Fucking hell, James.
Got him,
James.
Damn. Busted.
Let's have the next bit of feedback. They love it though, right? This next one loves it, right?
Hakon Lingstad. How about Xmas? Surely you pronounce that as Crossmas, not Xmas.
Good point. Good point.
Ooh. I always forget the origin of Xmas. Wasn't it like a...
No, hold on. No, wait, that's not right, because X is a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but they're talking about obviously it's about a pad.
What? Yeah,
it's the pad stuff.
I know, we know, we're aware.
Yeah.
But the argument was we call it a cross on the PlayStation pad because it's a symbol, not a letter.
Yeah.
Xmas, the X is a letter.
Yeah, it's not a... Is it? I can't remember what the origin of Xmas is. Isn't it people not...
What else is it going to be? You write it.
People not wanting to say Christ for whatever reason.
No, that's not the...
it might be something like that. Because I remember
think it is, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't say Christmas then, would you?
Because that
sounds like
maybe I will now.
Yeah, because that makes it like, no, we don't want anything Christian in Christmas. Let's call it Crossmas. Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I can't think of why that would be weird. Do you know what I mean? Okay, yeah.
There we go. Sorry, right. So Xmas originated as a handwriting abbreviation for the typical pronunciation Christmas. The X comes from the Greek letter chi or chi, which is the first letter of the Greek word Christos, which became Christ in English. So there you go.
Knobsock says, your podcast is so dull. Stop listening. I mean, I'm with Knobsocks now.
Several thousand people just learned something. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's knowledge.
I don't think they did. You can't just turn around and go, well, you learned something. Yeah, but it was fucking boring.
I just read something out from Wikipedia. That's amazing content.
Right, Ian Gordon Collins. Some feedback regarding scooters. Several years ago, when my youngest was starting in junior school, he used to love to take his scooter. As the school was only about half a mile away, this wasn't a problem. I can't remember if this was a thing in the media at the time, but I became aware of adult-sized scooters and wanted one. The best way to manage this was to persuade my wife that she could find it really useful nipping to school and back, which was downhill. Suffice to say that when we got one and my wife rarely used it, I loved the few occasions I got to accompany my son to school and then whiz down the road on the way home, but I sort of lost enthusiasm after getting various hand gestures from a van full of builders who were queuing in traffic. I do miss a scooter and regret not getting out on it more, so my message to Matt is go for it. For reference, I was in my late 40s at the time and clearly didn't know any better.
See, always the problem with the scooters with this though is that if you my son did that a couple of times, but then you've got to carry it back home, haven't you? It's
I hate that. They're carrying it around and shit. It's even worse when it's a bike.
Try scooting to school with your son, and then you have to scoot back whilst also holding his scooter.
Yeah, how's that going to work?
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Why didn't you just do one on each foot?
That's true.
Just do both of them. That'd be quality. That'd be good. That goes from, oh look, there's a middle-aged man on a scooter to look at that dude.
Yeah,
like that
cool
instantly
that'd
changes
be fine if the way back was downhill. And that'd be quite funny because I'd imagine you'd come off.
You just, or if there's like a downhill and then directly like next there's an uphill, so you're just like going slowly
and then
rotating back and forth.
Well, if you take a kite with you, send that up, and then
yes,
yeah.
If the wind is in the right direction, sure. If it's not, you're fucked.
It'll be fine.
I've only got one scooter memory from when I was a kid because I had a scooter when I was a kid, and it was whenever I was out playing, like riding around in it or whatever. There was an old dude sitting in his front garden down like one of the local roads. Whenever he saw me in it, he'd say the same thing: "You'll end up with one leg shorter than the other." And my first response was, yeah. And then when he said it like the next day, I was like, yeah. And then the next time it was like, would I? And then the next time it was like, all right, mate. You've said that to me 8 times. Like, please stop. Please stop talking to me. I will call the police.
Yeah.
It was just weird. I remember that.
Do you want to tell everyone your secret now?
I have got one leg shorter than the other. It's absolutely horrific.
He was not lying,
I keep walking around in circles.
Matt,
okay, cool.
How is the rollerblade research going?
I haven't looked since I last looked, which was before our stream.
Is that because of us?
Yeah, I mean, although James did encourage me, I haven't.
Yeah, I know, but James, you know why James is encouraging you.
No. He said
it's the same reason why he wants a Jaguar. Like, you know what I mean? He loves that stuff. He can't wait to laugh at you about it. Don't fall into his trap, Matt. You're better than that.
Yeah, no, I haven't looked into it since.
Good.
Maybe something for the future. The amiable guinea pig. Read the next GTA setting. While a return to Vice City is always welcome, I wish Rockstar would choose a unique setting like Montreal during the 1970s. It was the epicenter of the hottest disco and complex political upheaval. Matt has a point about Rockstar falling into a predictable pattern, and this will have a great chance to break out of that rut with something unexpected. On an unrelated note, the beaded design of the chain chomp could work for the Nintendo sex toy lineup. Yeah.
Unnecessary in there, but I think he's right though, in the sense that I think that I would like it if they did some other cities and some other time periods as well.
Settings, but what time periods? They've got to be. There's not many. Like, could you imagine Croydon in the early 2000s, and it's just UK garage and shit clothes.
No, but if you think about the US, you've got like a whole 100 years of like really interesting history that you could dig into.
Well, they've done 2 games set 100 years ago, haven't they?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like you've had like Red Dead, which was from that era. You could have like 1950s America. It's all sorts of stuff you could do with this. It'd be fascinating.
What would you do in 1950s?
I don't know. I mean, later on you could do like civil rights era and stuff like that. That could be really interesting because because
what's it did? Sorry. Mafia 2 or 3 or whatever. The Mafia games did the 50s, didn't they? On the 40s or some shit? I can't remember. Sorry, let's move on. I was trying to make a point, and then I realised I didn't have time.
So if you did like the same time period as like Red Dead Redemption, but in New York or something, would be really interesting because it's like same time period, but just like a completely different life.
Yeah. There's tons. Okay. There's absolutely tons. I'm not very excited about them going back to like Vice City and doing that again because it just feels like we've done that so many times. But then also like other games always pick up on the 80s stuff.
There's so many time periods like 1951, 1952. You got 1953 and 4. You got 1955.
They should do the early 1900s New York thing, but the quote unquote satire is just all exactly the same. So it's like you're walking around and there's still like a bar called Jizzy Jim's and stuff. And it's just all
yeah, but
you've got like the whole Cold War period that you could play with that, which could be absolutely
James,
fascinating.
Yeah, you know history. Well done, you. Is this what you trying to? This is such a weird flex.
Trying to do something interesting. Yeah. Just make it something a bit interesting rather than just always the same stuff. I don't know.
Oh man, the games are good. Stop it. They're doing all right.
But if they were to go like a totally different time period, do you think that that would affect GTA Online in any way? I know GTA Online is now going to be a standalone thing, so maybe it can be so separate that when there's a new GTA and people are thinking, oh, hang on, maybe the new GTA Online, like, you know, and they might have like fixed some of the networking things, or they've rebuilt it so it doesn't require, you know, they can fix all the UI. It could be like a reset for GTA Online.
Well, I wonder if that's what the next gen update's probably going to be, isn't it? I think like
because this is all off. I'm assuming off of the back of the announcement that they're doing the next gen at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
And that sort of made me think, well, actually, then they're not going to announce the next GTA before that launches, are they?
Yeah,
no,
probably not.
Very unlikely.
Because it'll take the shine off it somewhat. I mean, that's the thing with like a period GTA, is that are people going to be as fussed about the online component? Because the whole point of GTA Online is that because it's just like modern day, they can sort of essentially do what they want with it. Like, yeah, fuck it, there's flying cars in it, there's submarines, who gives a shit? Whereas if it's set in the early 1900s or whatever, you're already limiting yourself in terms of the weird stuff you can do. And we've seen that like people are weird about that because Red Dead Online hasn't taken off to anywhere near the same degree.
Yeah,
and it's not even that it's worse, it just doesn't have that sort of infinite potential, you know?
Yeah, if they are going to launch a new GTA Online, they can't put it in a time period.
Yeah.
Because it fractures the audience. There's some people that will instantly not like that and go back to GTA 5 Online or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think that is not what they want. So maybe that's the way they do it. They release a single player game and then just add a ton of content into the original GTA. It maybe open up a new city or something. I don't know. I don't know.
We've talked in the past. Amazing Red Dead went, the serious drama route, or a serious story, kind of like we got with Red Dead 2. But I guess that would be just the serious stuff, and then they can keep doing all the kind of wacky stuff in GTA Online, and then they really are two separate entities entirely.
Possibly. Yeah. We'll see.
Interesting.
We'll see.
George Foreman, Sean Bell, last episode, the toads have clearly evolved from mushrooms. So why is it a right to eat mushrooms? That's weird. That would freak me out. Wait till he finds out where humans and animals come from.
No, my point was that surely there were no stages of evolution between the mushrooms and the toads. Whereas, like I wouldn't eat.
How do you know that?
I wouldn't eat an ape, right?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? There has to be more. Okay. There has to be more steps of evolution before it's.
How many steps do you need?
How many steps of evolution do you need to eat an ape?
Clearly, there's steps in the evolution between mushroom and toad, though, right?
I don't know, man.
Well, they didn't just pop up like that, did they? Wake up one day and go. Rawr!
Yeah, they just started grew arms and legs and started going.
Is it in the Mario Encyclopedia? Evolution, please.
Is it what? It's genealogy.
Yeah, have a look in the Mario Encyclopedia. See what the.
We still read that quite regularly, and it's becoming a staple of our literature in this house.
That is it for feedback. You can leave feedback. Go to. Oh, hang on. What? Yeah, it's tcgs.co/dear TCGS. That was weird.
Okay. News, James. Let's go.
Okay. So the first piece of news I've got is related to this the IGN post over Palestine, because this was quite a big thing which happened over last week. So what it was that IGN put out a post, I think it was on Friday, that was attributed to IGN staff, which said, we want to highlight the humanitarian crisis in Palestine because while there has been fighting in the region for decades, recent escalations have seen a catastrophic loss of Palestinian lives. And then the post also linked to charities that people could donate to, such as like Doctors Without Borders and United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And then lots of other organisations followed suit. They also either retweeted that or they posted links to similar things.
Yeah, like GameSpot did one and stuff as well, didn't they? Yeah.
But then on Sunday, the post was deleted and a new statement was put out which said, our philanthropic instincts to help those in need was not in line with our intent of trying to show support for all people impacted by tragic events. By highlighting only one population, the post mistakenly left the impression that we were politically aligned with one side. That was not our intention, and we sincerely regret the error. But then, obviously, a lot of IGN staff were not happy about this retraction because apparently it was done without any consultation at all and just happened. And then they released a statement on Medium that addressed the management of it was like it's J2 Global and Ziff Davis. I mean, I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's quite a long letter, and it's a good letter. I think it's really good.
I'll definitely go and read it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll read the opening when they just said, "We, the undersigned employees of IGN, are appalled by the recent management decision to subvert our editorial autonomy and remove our post directing aid to the Palestinian civilians currently suffering a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, the West Bank and Jerusalem." And then the letter asks for like an all-hands meeting with the management to discuss the issue, and they also said they would work with management to like republish the piece. But I mean, as far as I'm aware now, there's been no further developments with this now, have there?
No, I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah.
No, me neither.
I think what hits you the most, for me, it was two things, right? The first being that it's a personality-driven website, right? Am I wrong in saying that? They put their staff in front of cameras. It's personality driven, and to then try and take that away when those personalities try to express themselves in that way, I think is a bit like you can't. I know you can have your have your cake and eat it, but at the same time, you shouldn't be, because it just, if you're trying to promote and say, look at the personalities we've got here, but they're not allowed to say that, that's not how it works, right? The second thing is that what gets me the most is that this was for aid for the people affected by it. Wasn't about the war or the conflict. It was about getting aid to people that need it.
Yeah.
And that is pretty fucked up to then take that down and say, well, you know, we don't, it's political. And, well, it's not actually. It's getting aid to people that need it. Like, you know, your views of the conflict are one thing, but I think we can all agree with that people caught up in the middle of it need support, right?
Yeah,
that's just the human...
people on one side are dying way more than the other one. So
and also, they've also got less support structures as well. Like
exactly.
You know,
of course they. I mean, of course, what's going on over there is absolutely horrific. It's horrific, and you know, I look at something like I'm not shocked because it's a corporate world, and there's always we don't want to get involved in things like this. But I am kind of shocked in how callous it was, that how ripping down that post. It just makes no sense to me.
It was
it's also
disgusting overreach from management to do that and put it across as if the staff had written the retraction. Yeah, that's absolutely horrific.
And like no consultation either. I mean, just doing that, and that's. Yeah.
Didn't they do it at like 2 a.m. on a Sunday as well?
I know, but it was
and also. Fair fucking play to those employees that stuck their neck on the line and wrote that letter, put their name to it.
Yeah. It was a bit irritating seeing some of the, I'm going to say posturing from people saying like, well, they should all resign then. Or like, oh, they should all hold E3 coverage hostage. It's like, don't tell the IGN staff what they now need to do. That's not really fair when they've got livelihoods and rent to pay or kids or whatever. But absolute solidarity with the staff and everything, because I must have just felt so shitty. Like, it's like knowing that your employer does not have your back when it comes to something like this is just a really horrible feeling.
For sure.
So,
okay, the next story is also not a great one because it's about Ubisoft, and it's catching up on where we were. When did this break last year? It was last year, wasn't it? That this
it was about this time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there's been an investigation by a French publication called Le Telegram, and it's revealed that the first wave of legal proceedings, which are due to start this month in relation to the harassment cases that we talked about last year. And I mean, according to this investigation, they said that Ubisoft has attempted to make changes, but the impact of these changes has been very minimal, like so far. And apparently there is a new director of HR and a new VP of Global Diversity and Inclusion, but an elected representative from Ubisoft's Social and Economic Committee said that they don't expect anything to come out of these appointments, as the HR staff who covered the harassment issues are still in position, like they haven't been moved at all. Now, according to GamesIndustry.biz, some of the men at the heart of the harassment accusations are still also in their jobs, such as Florent Castagnarac, who heads Ubisoft owned, is it Nadio? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was accused of harassment by like dozens of employees or so, and a union representative said that management is protecting him. That's still going on, and I mean, according to Le Telegram in Canada, they just said nothing has changed since the appointment of it's Christophe Derens, who is Yves Guillemot's cousin in July. He was appointed in July 2020.
Brilliant.
And apparently there's been more new harassment cases as well that have been reported since, according to Games Industry Biz, and they were sidelined in December 2020. I mean, Ubisoft have given out a statement. They've said, over a period of several months, Ubisoft has implemented major changes across its organisation, internal processes and procedures in order to guarantee a safe, inclusive and respectful working environment for all team members. These concrete actions demonstrate profound changes that have taken place at every level of the company. Additional initiatives are underway and are being rolled out over the coming months. We are committed to strengthening our culture and values in the long term to help ensure every team member at Ubisoft is heard, respected and valued in the workplace. But, I mean, this report from the Telegram would kind of seem to indicate that's
I was going to say,
not entirely accurate.
Yeah, that whole
it's not what
statement
your
rings
staff
pretty
are
hollow,
saying,
doesn't it?
mate.
Exactly, yeah.
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 It's yeah, I mean, what the fuck?
Management needs to go, doesn't it?
Why protect these people? What the fuck is going on? And you know, in your statement, you turn around and say, no, these people that have been accused of all this stuff haven't got jobs anymore. But you're not doing that, which is, come on.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely shocking. I was really disappointed as well that, so the Nadio guy, because obviously they're the Trackmania team, right? Which I think I'd always sort of half hoped that, because they were, an indie studio that just happened to get bought by Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, new Trackmania came out last year, and then when all this news came out, I was like, that's probably not the Trackmania team, right? They're probably okay. Apparently not. So it's just wanking it. Absolutely pathetic. I mean, we always knew it would be a long road to really fixing this stuff, but they're not doing enough. It's been a year. And for a lot of these people to still be in, the positions they were in, and for new cases to be happening, everyone who's had any sort of history of abuse or harassment in that company should have spent the last year fucking shitting themselves, not carrying on the way they were and still causing more issues. What the fuck? It's absolutely shocking.
It really does feel like, Eves and all those people at the top, it does feel like they just need to go, don't they?
Well, yeah, really. The fact that he brought his fucking cousin in, because basically he's employed his entire family, hasn't he, at Ubisoft?
But that is probably why they can't. It's really difficult to manage that, isn't it? If you've got all family members and stuff, where they clearly all need to go. It's just
I don't know
crazy.
if it is difficult, is it?
Well, if the entire management structure is
if
like
they were fucking dicking around like that. Sorry, that really reduces down to what's going on in there. It's not dicking around, is it? I mean, I was being flippant,
no, I don't
but
know,
not towards the accusations. It's just it's fucking horrific. Get rid of these people.
I mean, I don't deny the fact that any huge organisation to make sweeping changes will probably take time. But there's a difference between things taking long when they absolutely don't, they shouldn't do, and also protecting members of staff. There's a difference between wanting to take enough time to make sure things are implemented correctly and well, and to try and fix the huge issues they had before, and also the other end, which is just not doing much and protecting the people that were clearly accused.
See, and also
see
the
what
fact
comes of. Go on.
Sorry, I was going to say the fact that you've got them still coming out and saying that they're doing a great job, basically, is really worrying as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, let's hope they say the court proceedings are starting soon.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope.
I mean, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and and obviously,
let's hope some change comes out of that. If they can't do it themselves, let's hope someone can do it for them.
Yeah, and obviously, it's not a majority of people at Ubisoft. There's tens of thousands of people. It's not that many, is it?
Yeah,
but thousands of people globally.
It says here 20,000 members of staff without half-day training. So yeah,
obviously it's a minority who are actually perpetrating this stuff, but
yes,
but it's a majority who should be looked after and should be protected, and they're not being, and that's fucking gross.
And it's also people in positions of authority, which is that's the biggest problem with all this. It's just messed up.
Yeah. Okay.
Next story is about Jeff Keighley. So we've found out.
Is this one a light-hearted one? Can we?
I think it's more of a light-hearted one. I mean, I've titled it "What Jeff Did Next." This is his next. This is the Summer Games Fest, so there's details now about it. Not a lot of details, but PlayStation, EA, and Xbox are all going to be part of it, but not Nintendo. And it's going to take place. They're going to do announcements which are going to start on the Thursday, the 10th of June, at 6 p.m. UK time.
Until
it doesn't
December.
It just says.
Come on, Jeff, give us some ammo.
It says Keighley promises at least a dozen premieres. So yeah, I don't know how long they're going to be stretched out.
No, I mean, it's got to be a lot shorter. There's an interview of him last week saying that they got the feedback and that everyone's annoyed that it went on way too long. So they understand that. Hopefully, but before we get into this properly, we all glossed over the fact that now James writes his own headlines. I mean, when I read what Jeff did next, I was like, oh, okay, I wonder who. No, that's what James started
editorialising.
Oh, is that Jeff? I like it.
I read the headlines and write the notes. Now he's doing his own.
Well, this is what you're going to do going forward, mate. You're going to write your own headlines, and then we've got to try and guess the story from your headline.
I'll do that next week. I'll definitely do that.
A witty headline, and then obviously not for the serious stories, but a witty headline, and we've got to guess the story. That'd be great. I'd love that.
I'll do
Nice
that for
little
next
edge
week.
to the news. All right, good.
Yeah. So anyway, there's an interview, and Jeff Keighley said he understood that things were way too.
Have you seen the feedback got leaked online?
No.
Yeah, apparently Knobsock said, "I watched your game Summerfest and it was dull. I stopped watching it a year into your coverage.
Before it started, I stopped watching it,
etc." Okay, next news story.
Okay. Next one is that Time Splitters studio Free Radical Design is being reformed with the original founders.
About this.
Yeah, this is a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
so
it is and it isn't. There's been rumours of a new Time Splitters game for years, hasn't there? Literally about 10 years. There's been rumours bubbling away.
I've always felt like those are rumours just being perpetuated by the few people who want it and not necessarily anything that's actually going on.
And the people that own the IP and want to keep it relevant.
When the IP was getting purchased and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm an insanely big Time Splitters fan, or I was back then. I mean, you try and go back and play it now, and it's. Although we did play it at the Science Museum, didn't we, James? I still had a good laugh with it.
It was all right, yeah, not bad.
Yeah. But here's my view, right? I think there's a gap for an arcade shooter like Time Splitters.
Mm-hmm.
I do, but it can't be like Time Splitters anymore because Time Splitters was very of its time, and when you go back, it's extremely the first person shooter has evolved so much that you can't go back to what those games were, right? Yeah. But if you take the basic concept of an arcade shooter with tons of characters to choose from, really condensed small multiplayer elements, not let's make it 50 players online or whatever, keep it to 4 players but build interesting mechanics and game modes around that. I think there's space for this game, definitely, but you've got to trust yourself to move away from what made those games good, because what made those games good doesn't make games good anymore. We've moved on. So hopefully they nail it, but I'm worried.
I'm loving the games, but what in your eyes made them good? I mean, at the time it felt like it was quite new and FPS.
They were a continuation of GoldenEye, weren't they? In terms of the GoldenEye style of first-person shooter.
So you had the main story, which wasn't that great. It was all detached missions, but some of them were quite fun. Very formulaic, you knew exactly where each enemy was at any point. I don't mind them sticking to that sort of stuff because it reminds me of the sort of process we went through when we were playing Call of Duty Spec Ops, Matt. That whole, there's 2 guys around there, shoot him, then shoot him. That sort of gameplay style I think could still be interesting. then on top of that, you had the arcade challenges, which is, I think, where they should be focusing. So, there was all these like wacky mini games where you were just shooting up. Like, I remember one where you're standing on top of a dam and loads of like monkeys were being chucked at you, and you had to try and shoot them, and because they were holding bombs or whatever, and if they got close, they blew up. But something like that. But those sort of challenge modes could be quite good if they're done right. And then also the multiplayer. The multiplayer had loads of different options that you can modify. The level design was great for those multiplayer maps for the time, and it was just really fun to play. It was an arcade shooter that had that element of competition within a small amount of peak players and these tight arenas. I think there's totally space for that, and I'm starting to see more and more games sort of move away from, because with the release of battle royale games, it was all right. How do we do 100 players? Come on,
yeah.
And I think we're seeing more and more games come out with, actually, this is a 6-player game. This is a 8-player game or whatever.
That's why this would be awesome if it was in a kind of like Splatoon. Like in that way, do you know what I mean? Like going back to that, of the idea that you've just got small teams, you've got 4 versus 4 or whatever. In like as you said,
short matches,
limited maps, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a space for it.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I think it's a long way off from even being presented. I could be wrong, but I think it's a while away. Do you want to hear the quote?
Steve Ellis from the studio, he says, to finally be able to confirm that the studio has been formed and that we have a plan for the next Time Splitters game is incredible. While we cannot tell you anything more at the moment, we look forward to sharing information in the future. So probably a couple of years down the line, isn't it going to be? I'd imagine.
Yeah, after investment, and this is what this sort of announcements are like. Yeah. It's like, we have some money, please.
I was the main shock for me was that Dr. David Doak's back for it.
Yeah,
because his name is attached. To the project.
I mean, it's like, when you're producing something like this, or if you're going to start developing something like this, you're like, well, we need to announce that the original team involved, but there's quite a lot of them, and none of them are doing video games anymore.
Well, this is it, because I believe,
some money.
I mean, anecdotally, after the experience of making and releasing Haze, like, he just left the industry. Like, he was not making games anymore. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously, I hope that, this is him, like, he's ready to do something cool again, and that, that's really positive.
Hopefully. I'm a bit cynical about it.
Yeah.
But hopefully.
It's such a shame what happened to Haze, though, because the concept of that I quite liked. I thought it was a very
absolutely.
interesting
Haze
concept.
was a smart idea. Like, the whole, basically a commentary on how games sanitize violence in a really interesting way. It's apparently it was absolute bum to play, which is a shame. But yeah.
Okay, next story is that Netflix are going to make the Netflix of games. This is apparently going to happen. So what's happening is Netflix are hiring an executive to lead what they're calling their future video game initiative, and they're looking for senior figures within the industry. Is Phil Harrison free at the moment?
Of course he is.
It's about time to jump ship again, isn't it? I think it's time to ruin something else.
But apparently, early discussions involve
it's like Sam Allardyce.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, it's like a football manager that goes in, team gets relegated, he gets like another job when someone needs something. We need someone with big ideas, but then someone who gets every single team relegated, basically, is the answer.
Yeah, that's Ian Holloway. Go on.
But apparently, it's going to be launching, and what they're saying is like an Apple Arcade style bundle of games without adverts. That's what it'll be apparently. But yeah.
This is interesting.
Right, so this is just going to be like a what? So this is going to be like a sort of a humble, like a PS Plus type thing, rather than you're going to stream games.
I think so. I mean, that's what it sounds like. If it's going to be like Apple Arcade, then that definitely sounds more like that rather than streaming stuff.
All right, well that's all right.
Because I'd really like to see more of the sort of choose your own adventure style stuff that they've done on Netflix, because the Black Mirror one, which I had problems with, but from a technical standpoint, it was a pretty amazing achievement.
Harry played through the Minecraft one.
Oh, did he? Was that any good? That's a Telltale one, isn't it?
Mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And there's that Boss Baby one, which is kind of shit, but.
I've not seen that one. I'm bang up for that. I love a bit Boss Baby.
It's a perfectly good laugh. But But yeah, so I'd really like to see them
You
do.
changed your tune.
No, I mean it's like obviously what I mean is I played it with Isaac and like he had a good time and stuff, but it's not like at the level of the Black Mirror one.
It sounded like you wanted to sound cool, and then when the cool one said that sounds great, you were like, actually, yeah,
it's good. Actually,
yeah, I like it.
I've just remembered I actually did enjoy it. But yeah, like I'd love to see them do more stuff like that because, as I say, the Black Mirror one was like really well put together in the way it sort of masked the sort of transition bits as you're making your choices and stuff was really smart.
But then I'll say about the Black Mirror one, like I said about it at the time, like it was neat, but when I got to the end of it, I was like, games have done that better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
What's the point in this?
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean?
Like it proved the technology, but in choose your own adventure game terms, didn't really do anything new. So it's like, well, keep doing it and keep like. Well, sorry.
The bit that killed me is that I got. I mean, what was it called? What was the Black Mirror episode called? It's named after a game.
Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch, right? Yeah. The bit that killed me was that there was a bit where I got the lead character to work out that he was in a Netflix show,
right? And
you had to make a decision for him to prove that he was in a Netflix show. Like he was like, "Look, I've got no control over what to do next." Mm-hmm. So then I didn't press anything, which in a video game would definitely have worked because I wanted to trick them back into, but then it didn't. It just selected whatever one the cursor was on at the time, and it was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, that would have been such a neat moment!" Like, but yeah, it didn't do that, and I was that's when I was kind of like, video games have done this better, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I mean. Like,
it's so limited on Netflix.
Yeah, and I'd love to see them, as I say, take that technology and just do something more interesting with it. And like, I suppose that they were thinking that like that was mainly going to be played by people who didn't necessarily play a lot of games. Like, it could just any average Netflix viewer might stumble across it, or obviously any Black Mirror fans. So yeah, I'd been keen to see more of that, but it sounds like this is something else entirely, doesn't it?
I mean, I'd rather they're doing that than trying to launch some sort of streaming service, to be honest. I mean...
100%, yeah. Although, does this bring an end to... Is this the Netflix of games? Well, no, because the Netflix of games is the Netflix of games.
I mean, unless it's shit, and then the question will just keep hanging over forever.
Is this the Netflix? We're going to be the Netflix of games. What shit? No.
Well, we already know Game Pass is that,
actually,
isn't it?
Yeah, Game Pass is the Netflix of games. What's the?
It is, isn't it? Aside from the fact they're not. Well, actually, they could. Yeah, I was going to say, aside from the fact they're not streaming, but they could be. You can stream them, so yeah.
In this statement on GameSpot, it says members will also enjoy engaging more directly with stories they love through interactive shows like Bandersnatch and You vs. Wild. Have you heard of that before?
Oh no, what's that? Is that fuck? If that's one that's already on there. I might give that a go.
UV Wild.
I assume that's a play on Man vs. Wild, is it?
I have no idea.
Or Man vs. Food. Or maybe you just go out there and just eat leaves and shit.
It's the Bear Grylls thing. It's the interactive Bear Grylls series, yeah.
Fucking Bear Grylls.
What am I going to do now? I'm going to jump off the cliff.
We're going to just stand here where it's safe, actually.
I've got a saber-toothed tiger. Do I get my brother to kill it or leave it alone? Matt's like, kill it.
Kill it and then drink piss. And I'm looking forward to the Making a Murderer game. That'd be interesting, won't it?
Yeah. Okay. Last story.
There's a couple of them. So there's You vs. Wild, and then there's Animals on the Loose, a You vs. Wild movie.
Brilliant. What, and that you can control the animals, I assume?
No, you
just
help
like
Bear
kill him,
Grylls
don't
survive.
kill him.
Exactly, yeah. That'd be quality. I'll play that.
When wild animals escape from a sanctuary, Bear Grylls and you must pursue them and secure their protective habitat. An interactive
Who puts
special.
that together? Who sits there and goes, right, we need some interactive specials, right, where the player, or the viewer gets to choose, make decisions? Bear Grylls. What? Bear Grylls. No, I mean, we could choose anything. There's like anything, but Bear Grylls would be good. I don't know if he would, mate. He just does the... I know anyone, but no, Bear Grylls. What is he going to do? I mean, it's either survive or die.
But you couldn't have Attenborough in that situation. He would die.
Yes, you could. Oh, mate, that would make for a better game.
Mate,
What
there's fucking loads of these.
Am I going to eat today? I have jam on my right and peanut butter on my left. That'd be good, man. I'd play that.
Okay,
I'd
right.
Play it.
So I've searched on Netflix for interactive. There's flipping loads of them. There's a Carmen Sandiego one, Captain Underpants.
Oh yes, we played the Captain Underpants one. Yeah.
Is it any good?
No.
Okay,
well,
fine.
actually, it was one of those situations where Harry was playing at 5 a.m. and I was barely keeping myself awake.
Fair enough. There's a Spirit Riding Free, the CGI one with the horse, and I completely forgot there's an interactive Buddy Thunderstruck episode. Buddy Thunderstruck is fucking wicked. If you haven't seen it,
I don't know that one.
It's proper good.
Don't know about that.
You ever seen Robot Chicken?
Nope.
Never mind then. Carry on. If you're listening at home,
zero reference point.
If you're listening at home and heard that and thought, "Oh well, yeah, I have seen Robot Chicken. I didn't really like it." That's the point. Buddy Thunderstruck is probably better. And it's also for kids technically, but it's just it's great.
Good. All right, is that it for news, or we got anything else?
One last one. So Nintendo has made people angry about something they're going to buy anyway. So what this is?
Blimey.
I smell some defence already. Okay, good.
No, as in what's going to happen. So what this is that Skyward Sword's coming out like soon, and so it's pretty much they've tarted it up obviously to make it look better. That's one of the things they've done.
You sounded like a Nintendo suit then, James. Like you were at a board meeting with Nintendo. What's the feedback like? People are angry about something they're going to buy anyway, guys. You're not winking at Shigeru Miyamoto in the corner and high-fiving people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they've improved the game, but then one of the things they've done is they've also added this function so that you can sort of teleport between different locations to make it. Because one of the things that people complained about with the game was the fact that you have to the travel time between places takes ages sometimes, and it's really kind of irritating and annoying. So it's okay because they've added this new feature in so that you can go between the overworlds and the surface, and even between dungeons and everything really quickly. The only thing is that to be able to do this, you have to buy a Loftwing amiibo figure, which costs £25.
That's bullshit, isn't it?
Of course, it costs how much? How much?
It's £25 as well.
Fucking hell!
Oh my god,
it's mad, isn't it?
That's bullshit, isn't it? That's bad. That is.
I
thought you were going to kick off about that, right?
No,
James. I thought you were going to kick off about that, and the idea was that they're making it too easy or whatever. And I was thinking, but Nintendo have a track record now of making games a little bit easier or optional things that cut out some of the bullshit in their games because they're aware that younger fans would like to use them. So this is fine, but locked behind a £25 amiibo.
Yeah, but what I meant at the beginning about people are going to buy it anyway. They are because it's already sold out everywhere this amiibo. So
I know, but
people are annoyed obviously, but they're still buying it.
I think it's probably fair to say that there's enough people in the world that some people are really annoyed about it and other people are buying it. I don't think it's necessarily the same people.
James. They're not selling one copy of this. That sounds rough, man. Fucking hell.
Yeah. That is fucked.
It's not enough that Nintendo
or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not enough that people are annoyed that they remaster or do up games and sell them for more than the original was sold. Now they're also £25 on top of that. So,
and especially when it's if it's buy an amiibo and it unlocks something cool or an extra something cosmetic or whatever. But when it's unlocking something that by the sounds of it the game actually really fucking needs, that is appalling.
See, and also the thing which is rubbish about this as well is that however annoyed people get about this, Nintendo are not going to change this. It's they're one of those companies where I always feel with Microsoft and other companies, people kick up a big stink and then eventually sometimes they do listen and there are changes made. Nintendo's one of those companies.
Microsoft are the worst for that at the moment.
Yeah.
What's that, mate? Oh, okay, all right, we'll change. Sorry, mate.
But with Nintendo, I always just get the impression that they don't care. Absolutely don't care.
They absolutely don't. Yeah. They're the computer game show of the video game developing world, aren't they? Any feedback you send in, they don't want to hear it. They just want to crack on doing what they're doing. The game of the year shall be the same every year, I'm afraid.
We are like, I know we've said this before, but that phrase that desperate Nintendo is the best Nintendo. We're just fully in the opposite of that now, aren't we? They're doing well. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what this new Nintendo Switch is going to look like. I bet it's like barely anything different with it.
400 quid.
It's the same one, slightly better battery, Bluetooth audio, 600 quid.
Same screen. Even.
Well, it's exactly the same. It's just that
actually we made the bezels bigger. Fuck
bigger
yourself.
bezels and no audio at all.
If you want to use Bluetooth, you have to use an amiibo to like enable it each time.
Yeah, a special £600 amiibo that they got.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Weird,
but yeah, like, I don't know. They could charge 50 quid and people will still buy it. Nothing's going to really stop.
We should actually be grateful that they're charging a mere £25 because they could
get
away with it.
Because most amiibos are not that amount of money. They're usually like 12-15 quid, and it's like this one inexplicably is Oh,
can you imagine what these are going to go for on fucking eBay?
Quite a lot.
Jesus,
£24.
Yeah, 26.
They'll just keep producing them. I don't fuck that noise. Yep. So hopefully they that changes.
Are you guys getting the game? Because I've seen like there's been some deals recently. I think Shop 2 or someone had it for 40 quid. I'm
getting it
because I didn't play it. So
I'm getting it because I've never played it. It's the only one I've never played, and
it sounds like there might be a good reason for that, though.
Yeah, Matt. Let me ask you this: what 3D Zelda games have you played in your time?
6.
Six.
Hang on, no, I was just on
that's a really good
Zelda 6.
Zelda 6.
Yeah. So
it was a good one.
Ocarina, a little bit of Majora's Mask, not much. The Waggle one that launched on Wii, which I didn't get on with. Not this, which was Twilight Princess.
Oh right, okay. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that's this one.
No, Twilight Princess. I played it. I was just not for me. Didn't play this one, and then what's it? What's there since Breath of the Wild? Was there something between?
Matt, you're going to hate this.
Yeah, don't buy this one.
You're going to hate it.
Well, I want to give it a go.
You didn't play Wind Waker?
I played a little bit, but I didn't finish it, no.
I mean, this is worse.
Probably my favourite of the 3D ones other than Ocarina of Time, although admittedly I never played Majora's Mask. So
Majora's Mask is excellent.
I've heard it's good. Obviously, like, everyone raves about it, but... I loved Ocarina of Time. I don't think I liked any other 3D Zelda game that I played since then.
Right.
Apart from Breath of the Wild, obviously.
So when this came out, did this not do great in reviews or what?
No, it did well in reviews. I mean, every Zelda game pretty much does well in
reviews.
reviews.
Always do well in reviews.
The standard Zelda, 10s out of 10s and 95% or whatever they were at the time.
I think what it is it's the
that's
first...
the difference, though, is it? That sums it up. Do you remember how cynical I was about Breath of the Wild and how uninterested? Like when we went and played that Switch in the preview event, there was a big Breath of the Wild. I can't believe if it's a demo or a video or something. I think it was an actual playable demo, right?
Can't remember.
You guys were like, "I'm going straight to Breath of the Wild," and I'm like,
it was.
"I'm not playing that."
I've got a little fire area or something. I think it was. I think it was in the that you got to go through. It wasn't.
Yeah,
right.
I was like, I've got no interest in that game. And then when the reviews come out, and it was like 10s, and you were like, Dave, see? And I was like, nope, this happens every fucking time. And it wasn't until the game came out and the public were like, no, seriously, mate, this is mental. I was like, that's when I started going, okay, I need to play this game. But the amount of times I've seen a Zelda review and gone, oh my god, it's going to be good again. And then I play it and I'm like, no, it isn't.
I mean, the main complaint I've ever heard about this one is that it takes a very, very long time to get going. Like, it's like the first 10 hours or whatever are really slow and
not unless you've got 25 quid, mate. Be zipping around that place like nobody's business. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
There's going to have to be two different speedrunning. There's going to have to be two different speedrunning categories with and without the fucking amiibo.
Although I say that in jest, Matt, I would like to hear what you think of it. So if you're thinking about buying it, pick it up.
I mean, it's a while away. It's like July sometime.
It's 2 months.
It's a fair while. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what it's like. Because I haven't played it. So hell yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's it. I've got no more news.
Good.
No more news.
Get to what you've been playing. I'm going to start with James this week.
Okay. What do you want to hear about first? Because I've got Famicom Detective Club and I've got Resident Evil Village.
Well,
what do you think?
First of all, I'm looking at the list of games in front of me, and neither of you are talking about. Oh, because you haven't completed it, have you? It Takes Two.
No, we haven't. No,
You didn't
we had a whole
finish
No.
it because James got absolutely slaughtered on the stream, and then. Do you want to explain what happened quickly?
Well, no, it wasn't just because of that. There was connection problems. That was not my fault.
Okay.
But you weren't interested in fixing those technical problems.
Like
were you?
connection
not by
issues
the end,
between
I
your brain and your fingers.
Right, can I say something? This does spoil something in the game, not something that you haven't seen, right? But I was incredibly frustrated. Now, if you've not played It Takes Two and you fancy playing it and you don't want to know anything, then please fast forward a couple of minutes. But I've got to mention this to Sean, and I know you're going to play this, Sean. And sorry to spoil this a little bit for you, but you'll be fine. You live. There's a bit in the last area that these guys did. And I was watching them on stream, and it was so frustrating. And I think I can give James a pass because I don't think he knew where he was. But right, so let me explain. You get to a bit where you find 4 or 5 panels with various different buttons on them, right? The whole last area is about music, and you find all these panels with these different buttons on. You jump on the buttons, and you realise that you're actually creating music. So you set the buttons. It's like those old music maker boxes, you know, where you set the buttons and it sets the beat, and then there's a tone that you can change the notes to and all that sort of stuff, and you slowly build up music. And the idea is the door doesn't open until you've activated enough of this stuff to create some sort of tune, right? And each tune's different. Like, it's different for everyone that plays the game. Like, you can set it up the way you want. So John and I got into this area, and we're going, and we work out what it was about, and we go, all right, let's try and create something really good here. And we're doing it, and we sort of got to the point where we're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. You go through the doors, and then it builds up all the other elements of the music around the tune that you make. And it becomes the soundtrack for a short amount of time. I've been looking forward to them play that bit for ages, right? So I'm in the thing, and we're all chatting away or whatever, and Gabsy Wabsy was watching, and Gabsy Wabsy and I were whispering, you know, private messaging on Twitch about what was going to happen. And I said, this is my favourite part of the game because it's so cool listening to your music come to life and be part of the soundtrack. I said, I bet they don't even notice it happens. And it's just like, well, no, actually, this is one of my favourite bits as well. There's no way they're not going to notice. I said, I bet they don't. They get into the room, they treat it like a puzzle to try and open the door rather than a creative experience, and then they don't even notice that the music is going on, like, after that point. And I was just like, I don't know how you missed that. It was one of the most frustrating experiences of my life.
They got on there like, okay, how do we get out? Okay, you just got to... I mean...
You watch... Basically, it's... I mean, just think of that idea, that concept that they put into this game. It's so cool. And then for them to just go, doopy-doopy-doo, next bit. It was like, oh my God.
I might send that to the devs. Say, love the game. This puzzle was good, wasn't it? Very short puzzle, but...
That stuff aside, it's looking at game facts. How to open door in music bit. Game facts is like, just be creative, Matt.
Just make it go red. Okay, done.
All of that aside, it did seem like you were really enjoying that last area compared to...
Oh, yeah, it was way better.
I agree with you. The garden bit is rough.
Yeah.
You know, it's
fine.
I
don't think it's bad. It's just that it's not the same level of new, funny, creative ideas every like 5 minutes.
Absolutely,
it's just
absolutely. Totally
it's just
agree.
not so, okay. You're going through it. Whereas before it's like, wow, this bit, that bit, this is new, this is interesting, this is cool. Whereas that was just,
for sure.
Keep going.
Yeah, that was the weakest section.
Yeah, this last bit's been brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you remember much of it, James?
Finishing.
That's the thing. I mean, not a lot. I mean, I saw that video that Dave that you put together. You know, of me doing the drinking and then that bit at the end where I went off to go to the bathroom. I'd forgotten about that happened towards the end. It was...
like, go on, Matt, do it. So I know it's called It Takes Two. We need
I sort of need both of you.
When you just got up and went, I need to go and get some meat. I was like, what? Who speaks like that?
Yeah, I thought I misheard that. I was like, I think you said meat, but no, it's come back with some ham.
Yeah,
I just fancy some
full
hams,
caveman.
You know. Yeah.
You definitely watch their stream. It's up on YouTube now, and it will be finished. Tune in on Friday night to watch them complete it, because if you don't know what we're talking about, they have to down a drink every time they lose a mini game, where you face off against each other. James is terrible at the mini games, and this week Matt sent him a litre can,
litre can,
5% beer, and he had to down the lot. And it was right at the start of the stream.
Yeah,
by the end of it, he could barely keep his eyes open. Yeah.
Well, it was that, and then I lost another one as well. So then I had to do another can as well.
Technically, you also lost a volleyball one, but I didn't want to hold that against you.
To be fair,
Matt,
I don't know if you noticed as well. You also ruined my first night with James Farley for over a year.
Well,
because
he was
supposed to be coming over. We were supposed to be having a drink, and he was going to stay the night. And instead, he texted me in the morning and said, "I'm still hungover. I can't do it. I can't do it."
I tell you what, I had a horrible night. It was a horrible night. Like, I went to bed. It was. I spent most of it lying on the sofa because I was like, I can't subject Chen to this because it was just awful.
That's the facts effect.
Yeah.
So, what games have you been playing, James? Other than that?
So I've been playing Resident Evil Village, which I finished, and also Famicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir, which came out.
Okay, well let's stay with Resident Evil because Matt, you finished that as well now, right?
Yeah, I finished it since the last show. Yep.
See, I finished it last week, and I've come away feeling more and more disappointed the more I think about it. Like
really?
As I go through it, yeah, because it really. I mean, Matt talked about this, I think, on the show before. Like, it really does tail off. Like towards the end, it's just like the first area is really very good, and it sets a tone that you think if they're gonna run with this could be really something like special. But then it's completely ripped up. It doesn't do that, and it goes off in these other different directions instead. There's one other area. So I'm gonna have to dance around this a bit because I don't want to sort of reveal too much stuff about it. But there's one that involves dolls, which starts off really well and is great. But then something happens and the whole thing just becomes completely laughable. Like, you just think this is
the
not...
thing with the baby?
Yeah.
I heard about this.
It's in no way scary at all and just completely destroys...
I heard this was terrifying, this bit.
Nope. It's
completely
terrifying.
Destroys the atmosphere. The atmosphere is fantastic, and there's bits where it's pitch black, and I'm like, okay, wow. I heard some people mention PT... And there were definitely bits where, you're walking around to like house and it's spooky. I'm like, oh fuck, this is really going to mess me up. And then, you see the thing. And then I'm just like, well, I'm not scared anymore because that's just stupid.
Exactly. And that was the problem. It's like...
It sounds like the hospital in Last of Us 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, do you remember that? We were like, well, I wish we never saw the thing because the thought of the thing was way...
as soon as you saw it just killed the atmosphere. And I think after I did, because I was really worried about that bit because everyone said, the next bit, Matt, you're not going to do it. I think even Capone said, you're never going to finish this game. And I was like, oh no, like I was enjoying it up to that point. And, but in the end, that bit was, that was just silly.
That was what was so disappointing about it, though, because the build-up to that was so good. Because you're like in this house and it's so well done, like the atmosphere and everything. But then that happens and you're just like, oh, this is it's rubbish. It's just kind of laughable and not very good. And I mean, the final couple of areas are just, for me, they just became like shooting galleries that didn't really feel like they had any sort of threat or horror at all. And it was just the main thing that I felt from it was just irritation at a lack of ammunition from time to time. And it's just like, as a whole, the game I didn't felt as coherent or well put together as 7. Like 7 felt like, it really was like a progression of a story, whereas this felt like, okay, we've got 4 things we want you to do to unlock something, and then that's the end of the game. And I don't know, it didn't feel... I didn't really care about any of the characters at all, and I didn't feel that any of the areas are given like enough time to sort of breathe or develop either, because they're all really very linear as well, which was the other thing which I was quite disappointed by, because when you begin, you open like you have the whole map and you think, okay, I've got this entire village here, I've got all these other areas to investigate, but most of it is, it's very linear, like going from place to place. And I mean, it just feels like they ran out of ideas, particularly towards the end, and the final boss... I mean, I got just frustrated and I just put it down to easy because I was just like, I'm sick of this. This is just annoying. And, beat it and felt, like I'd not achieved anything. And, I don't know. I just, as I said, I just came away just feeling more and more disappointed as the week's gone on, really.
I would say they had too many ideas. You said they had not enough ideas. I think they had too many and they tried to squeeze them in and trying to find a way that would make that work. I mean, all the various areas are like different types of horror or different types of...
Yeah, kind of.
Area, and I was like, and in many other games we're like, oh, isn't this cool? You know, like it doesn't outstay its welcome. You go to a new area, you see like a new different style of horror or whatever you want to call it. Isn't that cool that they just give you little bits and then move on to the next part of the game? That's what we've commented and celebrated about games for so long. But
it doesn't work with this, though, does it? Like,
no,
at all?
I mean, yeah, I think I said on the show before, well, on the last show we did when we talked about games. Because we didn't last week. I felt like that first bit was so good, and the bit we're talking about is Castle Dimitrescu with with the tall lady, and maybe Capcom just stumbled upon that with everyone being thirsty over the tall woman, and she maybe unwittingly became the star of this game, even though they may not have really fully anticipated that. But if the whole game's set inside that castle with Dimitrescu and the other people in that, it felt very much like the Spencer mansion from the first one. It looked beautiful. It was really atmospheric, and I love that. But then, when you go to the other sections, it's just a bit like, I don't know. I mean, I was happy in a way because I couldn't I didn't even entertain the idea of playing 7, and even though I finished 8 and would kind of want to play a bit more Resident Evil, there's no chance we're doing 7. It's just, there's no chance. So for me, better because I can actually get through it. And there were still some bits that kind of, that made me afraid. I mean, there's a little bit of chasing here and there, which I wasn't a fan of. And I think audio is fantastic. It's really atmospheric. And there were bits towards the end, James, like it definitely made me jump, which I fucking hate.
I just think, what I mean by running out of ideas is it's more like they didn't bother to develop things, I didn't feel. Like, particularly in the last areas, it's just, you're going from one place to another, and there's not really any sort of character development at all. And, I mean, one of the characters, though, I did find interesting, like one of the boss characters towards the end, they sort of, I don't want to say because it'll ruin the story for anybody, but they don't explore, like, possible different routes with that character either. It's just good, bad, that kind of thing, which was...
That fully feels like it's setting things up for another game, I reckon. But I totally know what you mean. I would
that's
say,
okay to have just a bad guy, right?
It is, but then
not when you're why they got their way every time.
No, but not when you're hinting at that. You're heavily hinting at it, and then you're not allowing like the player to engage with that at all. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
like if you're doing that, and then your character is still just going, fuck you, I'm going to kill you. It's just it's rubbish. If you're doing that, if somebody's saying this stuff tonight, it's just not very good. So
I do think there is this weird thing at the moment. Like I think Joker is a cracking film, but there is this need to just every bad guy now has to have something redeemable, and it's like sometimes I just want a really bad guy. Like at least Call of Duty games are like that. They're good. Well, this guy just wants to blow up the world.
Battle Star Wars had that. So that was maybe that's why we enjoyed it.
Certainly did.
Nuanced writing.
WWF looking fella, WWE looking fella with a bathrobe.
I definitely wish this game had more story. It felt like there's hardly any story. There's more towards the end, but I wanted more like lore. I wanted more things definitely. That talked about the overall, Umbrella or Resident Evil. Generally, it's very action heavy, which is cool. And although I did think, as James said, it was much too combat heavy towards the end. But I wanted more lore, and there was more towards the end. I was like, oh no, this is really cool, and it just kind of ended. I also want to talk about Ethan Winters, who is the person you play. And obviously, I've heard about his escapades in the previous game, and then he goes through a lot in this game, to say the least. And I felt like this is just stupid, but I kind of warmed to him just because it just felt like a bumbling idiot who was getting all sorts of scrapes. He definitely felt like that,
yeah. He's just...
Yeah, and as someone who's... People only found out what he looks like because they like got into the game and found a model, because you never actually see his face.
Oh, really? Oh, I assumed... Like, obviously, I know it's first person, but I assumed there was just, artwork out there or whatever. I didn't
realise. Models are because people looked into the game and found stuff. So you never see his face. It's all first person. And like I said, loads of stuff, bad stuff happens to him. But by the end, I liked him for that. It was just, I was a fan of him as nondescript and as generic as Ethan Winters, seems to be. I quite liked him. But no, I enjoyed the game, but I can also totally see all the things that James says. It didn't feel that coherent, but it was good for me because I actually got to go through it. But I'm very interested to see where they go next.
Cool.
It's
the
just
whole Lady Dimitrescu stuff is so interesting because, like you say, it's like impossible to gauge whether or not they really knew quite how much she would take off, right? Because obviously,
there's no way they could have planned that.
Yeah, like obviously, the way she looks, and like obviously vampires have previous for being, like people lusting after them or whatever. Like that's a thing in the genre, but the fact that her appearance in the game is relatively brief, like it's not like she's the main villain, is it? Which I think everyone sort of assumed she would be. It's just really interesting. Like if they'd known how people would react, do you think they'd have like completely sort of changed the pacing and made her a more sort of recurring element?
Question: did they do another game with her?
Like maybe. Well, I imagine she doesn't make it to the end of the game. I don't know.
No, I know, but there's such things as prequels.
True. I mean, yeah. Plus, obviously, supernatural, so they can do whatever they want, really, can't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could, but who knows? Maybe Resident Evil 9.
No, the question was, do they?
I'll say
Come
no.
on, Matt. Put your money on the table. No, Matt says no. It's probably going to happen then, isn't it? Okay, cool. Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's all right. Not great.
Good.
Resident Evil 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I wasn't, after a summary at the end there, I wasn't going, Resident Evil, quickly summarise. I was saying, Resident Evil, that's done. Let's
stop.
move on. Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing I played is the Famicom Detective Club. One of the games.
What is this?
Okay.
I've heard this so many times, but I don't even know what it is.
So what it is this is a game that came out in the 1980s on the Famicom in Japan, not on the NES, but it was never translated into English and released. And so what they've done is they've taken the game and the story and they've remade it as, like with nice art style and all that kind of thing, but kept the main story and then released it on the Switch.
Who's they? Firstly, who's they?
Nintendo. It's a first-party Nintendo game.
Do you need a fucking amiibo to get these new graphics? Is that what? Is this going to be a regular occurrence in their games now?
Not in this case, no. Although
it wasn't a serious question. It was a little gag. Thanks.
Yeah, I thought I'd run with it. But so what it is that they've released it as like a double pack of like two games. So there's two of these adventures. There's one that's called The Missing Heir, and the other one's called The Girl That Stands Behind. And it's strange because I was really looking forward to these because as I've talked about endlessly on these on this show, like I really enjoyed like graphic adventures, like graphic novels and stuff like that. I really dig them a lot, and so I was looking forward to this because there are quite a lot of these on the Switch, but there's not a lot that I've found to be like really very good. And you're thinking if this is coming from like Nintendo, like first party, this should be good. They should have done something with this, that make it sort of worth releasing. And it does look terrific. It looks like the work they've done on the visual style. It looks very much. I'd say it does look almost like it looks more like Steins Gate, which none of you have played, I don't think. Which is it has a similar sort of visual style to that, and maybe not. It's not really Phoenix Wright like. It's more like sort of Steins Gate, and the atmosphere in it is fantastic. The music, all of that is really great, but there's some big problems with this, which have really prevented me from. I could not recommend it at all. First of all, it's expensive. I mean, it was like 40 odd quid or so. I think it cost for for these two games. And considering what they haven't done with it, it's really, really, really difficult to recommend because, first of all, the main problem is the play mechanics because they're really dated. Like they've updated like the visuals, they've updated all the sound, all that kind of stuff. But the way that you interact with the game doesn't appear to have changed. I mean, I've not played the originals obviously, but it uses that sort of menu system for interacting with the environment. So you know how like with Phoenix Wright, you also have like a menu system, but it's quite limited actually as to what you can do. Like you either have like talk or like examine, and that's really about it when you're going through the investigation sections. With this, you have a whole menu of different sorts of actions that you can perform, such as like talk, show, look, and all that kind of stuff. Now, you may be thinking, like looking at that and thinking, great, there's lots of ways to interact with this, but then the main purpose of any sort of scene you're in is to try and like sort of figure out how to get the information you need to unlock the next part of the conversation. And the trouble is when you've got so many options there, like so many options to like explore, it means that it sometimes becomes completely trial and error to figure out what you need to do to move the scene on, which is incredibly frustrating. So sometimes if you need to, to trigger like the next part in a conversation, you it's not clear that you need to like talk with somebody like 3 times about the same subject so that then they reveal more information as it goes along. And so if you've got maybe, say, 6 or 7 things to talk about with a single person, it can take ages to go through that, and you don't know if there's still like an avenue you can go down for any of those, which is incredibly frustrating. And because it only occasionally highlights new information. But then sometimes, even when it does highlight new information, that's not actually what you need to choose. You need to choose something else that you are not aware of. And so it just becomes trial and error of just going through to try and figure out how to unlock, you know, like just by clicking on everything in the scene to see if maybe you've missed something. And it's super frustrating, like really, really frustrating. I mean, I got up to chapter 4, and I was just sitting there thinking, this is just irritating. Like I'm enjoying the dialogue here, but I'm not enjoying how I'm moving ahead in this. It's just driving me crazy. And then, I mean, I played it a bit more over the weekends, and I'm now, I think, chapter 8, and again, it's just such a miss. It's like I don't understand why they couldn't have just simplified like the interaction system to give you like much clearer visual cues as to where you should be looking and what you should be looking for. Because going through these exhaustive lists is just not fun. It's just irritating. It's just incredibly irritating.
Do you think they're like, oh no, this is what games were like back then, and we need some sort of nostalgic feeling to these adventure-style games?
It might be that.
Do you know, that's the only thing that makes, like, you could. I mean, that's the wrong thought to have. Like, definitely.
I think
it's the only thing that makes me understand these decisions.
It could be that. The other reason could be because if you streamlined it significantly, the game would be much shorter. Like it would be very short to go through. Because this is a game that it doesn't have puzzles. Like not really. There's no sort of puzzles to solve. The only puzzle is basically how can I get to the next line of dialogue. And so that's if you're pointing people towards where to go, this would be over very quickly, and there'd be not really so much point. I mean, I understand why they did this in the past, because the whole idea was that you were supposed to sort of figure out and piece together how to get to the next line of dialogue, and that was part of the fun in inverted commas. But over like the last over the last sort of 20 or 30 years or whatever, people have figured out that that's not a fun gameplay mechanic at all. I mean, if you look at like the earlier like text adventure games, they were like this as well. You know, where you had like tons and tons of ways to interact, but they slowly pared it down to make it so that it was more accessible to people, and they haven't done that with this, which is a massive shame. It's all fully voiced as well, and it just looks so nice, but it's just I couldn't recommend it because I don't think people would want to sit there and have to spend this is what's so odd. It's like you think, why have they not tried to make this more accessible, you know, to people to enjoy it? It just blows my mind. I don't know why they've not bothered at all to just streamline things a bit, you know, over this. But maybe the next one's
Granny's
better.
Garden going to get this sort of upgrade? That's what I want to know.
Tell me about it.
I want get that. Bring that back. I never made it
also,
past
Granny's
that fucking
Garden,
cupboard.
we need the origin story, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Mate, she was a witch, right? The granny. Wasn't that it?
I don't know.
No, there was a witch
Granny
in
was
it.
a witch.
There was a witch in it, but I don't think that was the granny.
The granny was just in the witch's... No, the witch was just in the granny's garden.
Yeah.
Interesting. So. But there was the
dragon
cupboard,
as well.
Mate. Right. Okay. Don't remember the dragon. Couldn't get past the cupboard, mate. Had to try and find a key to look. Yeah, there was a broomstick in there, I think. Someone told me.
You had to put magic rings on each of the dragons or something, and it was a
Wasn't there a
nightmare.
worm in a fucking apple as well? That whole shit was weird. Why did they make us play that? It didn't seem educational at the time at all.
No.
Maybe that was the trick.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's Famicom Detective Club. It's difficult to recommend. It looks really nice, but yeah, it's There are better... I mean, it reminds me a lot of Jake Hunter, which was another series that came out on the DS, which I enjoyed despite it being a mess, like in terms of interaction, and this is the same. It's just a shame. There's never anything as good as Phoenix Wright, but yeah, that's it.
There's never anything as good as Phoenix Wright.
And if you're saying it's not worth getting, then it really isn't worth getting.
Yeah. Can I talk about Knockout City?
Go on.
Please do.
Yeah.
A game I've been excited about actually since playing the beta. This was the dodgeball game released by EA in a similar sort of... I mean, you can make so many comparisons to that Rocket Arena game that they brought out that it's unbelievable. But this is another strange stab at trying to do something from EA. It's a third-person... Imagine a third-person competitive multiplayer game, but you're not shooting each other, you're throwing fucking dodgeballs at each other around these maps. The art style is so vibrant and cartoony that it's actually ended up being a little bit generic. Like, it's one of those games that it is vibrant and it has got a style to it, but you look at it and just go, it kind of looks like all the other games that try and stylize things too much, and it loses any sort of, the original attempt to try and stylize a game like this is to make it look unique, and somehow that's not happened. The opposite's happened. I mean, when you first saw it, James, you were just like, oh no, because it does look like that. What I will say is that my love of actually playing it has extended through to the full game. I really enjoy playing the beta, and I'm really enjoying playing this. The actual mechanics of playing the game are so interesting and create so many great moments. So I will try, and I'm not going to go into the minutiae of what you cannot do, but to boil it down, there's three different ways of throwing a ball, and you can throw that ball at different paces as well, depending on how long you hold the trigger down. So there are various different ways you can try and trick opponents. When you've got a ball in your hand, you can pass it, you can charge it up, you can drop it and just run off. You can turn yourself into a ball and roll into a teammate's hand, and they can build you up to a special move and stuff like that. And on the left trigger, so that's all done with the right trigger and holding different combinations of buttons and stuff when you're releasing the ball. But then on the left trigger, you've got a catch, which is only active for like a short amount of time. And there's a slight cooldown to it, so you can't just spam catch. There's also a dash button where you can just dash into other people and nick the ball off them, or dash into a ball and stop it from flying at your head and stuff like that, or just literally dash out of the way of it so that the ball's not coming at you. I suppose the way to explain why I'm finding it fun is that it's essentially a first-person shooter where you can't really rely on Twitch reactions to stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like you're coming across young people who can react 20 times better than I can at this point in my life. So I'm just getting shot in the head by at the other end of the map. Another game I got into last year was that Rogue Company, which was good, but then you get to a stage where you find a team that's just good at Call of Duty stuff.
Yeah.
Good at shooting to the point where they, can snipe you from the other end of the map without even looking down the scope. And it just, when you come across teams like that, it's really frustrating. What I found is when I've come across teams that are ripping us apart in this, it's just more entertaining working out how they're doing it and the tactics they're using. Like little tricks like splitting up in a small portion of the map. You walk in, you see that you're being targeted by one of the players, they quickly pass it to their friend who hits you from behind. All different weird little tactics that you wouldn't even think of when you first start playing the game come into play. Last night we had a proper session on it, like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and a lot of that time we were absolutely caning teams. Like, we were thrashing them because we were in contact with each other and we were telling each other where we were and making sure we were together at all times. But then we came across a couple of teams that had clearly gone to that next level of knowing what to do, and the idea of them nailing the catching mechanic was a real important way of destroying us, because it felt at times that no matter how many times you throw a ball at them, they're just going to catch it and return it really quickly, and trying to deal with that at the same time. Or you're aiming at someone, they're aiming at you, you get your throw off, but there's already someone else behind you aiming at you, and you just, at the moment you release the ball, you're getting hit in the back of the head with a ball. So that's exciting, because it means that there's levels of skill to this. There is actual teamwork involved that can push you forward, because when you initially play it, you're not really on board with everything that's going on. You're not picking up on all the visual cues and the sound effects and stuff, so it does kind of feel like you're just making your way through a game. But slowly, when you start working out what everyone else is doing and how they're achieving stuff, it really opens up and becomes, there's so many times where you walk into a room and there's a whole team in there, and it's exciting because it's all going off. You know, you can barely hold onto a ball without being dashed out of the way and your ball stolen from you. And then there's balls flying left and right, but people are catching them like in quick succession and stuff. It's just really, really, really fun to play. My only concern is that I'm pretty sure it's going to be dead within a month. And I think that's frustrating, because I hear so many people saying, "Oh, not another one of these, not another one of these." This is something different and it's fun to play. I can't see people jumping on board with it. And next time EA release a, first-person shooter and everyone rolls their eyes, or another one of these games, I'll be like, yeah, but you didn't play the new stuff they were doing. This weird stuff. Like, I can't believe EA have put this out. It's too weird.
Do you think
it's nice,
could it have been better
nice
to have had a different visual style, Dave?
I think it would be difficult. What route would they go down?
Because it's all realistic, isn't it?
This is clearly inspired by
Splatoon.
Splatoon and games like that. And I think although the style's strange, man, like the dressing around it is the narrator is a pirate radio DJ, and the lines he comes out with is just horrible constantly. It's like, hey, you are ready to roll with the way coming up next, and all this sort of stuff. And you're just rolling your eyes as he's barking.
It feels very Destruction All-Stars in that sense. It feels like the same kind of vibe.
Yeah. There's no attitude to it. It's not like one of those attitude things. It's just going for a level of cool that it doesn't hit. Like, the lines are terribly written. You're expecting like the narrator at some point to go, "Hey, an intern paid for wrote this one. We offered this writer exposure as payment." It feels like that. It feels kind of like you're going for a style, but it's so by the numbers that any sort of style that you're trying to put into it is completely lost. But I really like the cosmetics you're unlocking while you're playing. I'm really liking the moment-to-moment gameplay. It's just, it really does feel like one of those games that slips through the net and no one really gets on with. I mean, I really loved Onrush as well, but look how quickly that tanked. I can see a similar thing happening here, partly due to lack of identity, mainly due to people not truly wanting something a little bit different. Because genuinely, if you want to try something different in a third-person shooter style way, then you should absolutely play this. I mean, they haven't helped themselves by actually charging people to play it. You know what I mean? It feels like it should be a free-to-play game.
Yeah.
And although it's on EA Play, I was reminded this week when I said to someone, download this game, and they said, well, actually EA Play's only on Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate. It's not on your normal Game Pass.
Oh,
so
right.
they couldn't unless they wanted to buy it. So, but actually putting a price tag on it and trying to get people to pay it, I think might be a step too far for people.
But if you've got Game Pass Ultimate,
mate, it's on there. James, you saw a bit of it, and you can see how it's a mechanics-based game that everything that it does is set up to make for an interesting back and forth, and it definitely provides that. I just don't know if it's got the legs to sustain the interest.
It also looks like it would really benefit from team play as well, from like getting groups together to play it.
God, yeah. When we played it last night with a full team of 3, it's 3-on-3. And when we played with a full team of 3, my word, did we have a good laugh. Like, it was really good fun. And, when you're all clicking together and you wipe out a whole team in the space of like 30 seconds and it comes out with a triple knockout, it's just like, yeah, that was satisfying. And it was way more interesting than just shooting a bullet into someone's head. Do you know what I mean? There was a bit of back and forth with it. There was a bit of passing and trying new things out and stuff. There's more to it than just rocking into a room, putting a crosshair over someone's head and pressing the fire button. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I played a bit today. I made a training and I did 2 matches, and it was fun. But yeah, all the things you just mentioned about seeing the minutiae of where people are and what to do in a certain situation is, I guess, what elevates it. I mean, it's mega fun if someone throws something, you throw something at them, and they miss, and they throw something at you, and you catch it and throw it back at them, and yeah, it's cool in that regard. I love the way
if you're getting targeted from behind, and you manage to spin around, catch it, and dash it back and knock them out. It's so satisfying. Like, it is so good. You know, that feeling of they thought they got the jump.
Or is it really just using the stick to turn around?
No, it's using the stick, but the way it shows you where someone's aiming at you is really, really well done. You know, unlike in shooters where there'll be a red mark on one end of your screen or whatever, the whole game gets framed out by a red border, and there's like a white lump in that border showing where someone's aiming from. And it's really intuitive. Like, you know exactly where they are.
Yeah, also, if someone's already thrown it then goes like zigzaggy, doesn't it? So you already know someone's launched it.
Yeah. And,
which is really cool.
But what's even better with that is that you can use that to your advantage. So, as I said, you can aim at someone so they know exactly where you are. You watch them turn around, getting ready to try and catch the ball. And instead of throwing it, you press the left bumper button and you're passing it to a teammate. And suddenly, you're not being aimed at from that situation. You're being aimed at from another place. And one of our teammates worked out that actually holding down and charging the ball up and throwing it as fast as you can is not as effective as just tapping the shoot button or the right trigger and the ball slowly heading towards them, because they're not used to the timing of catching that. Like, it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh fuck, and then suddenly you hit in the face. It's there's way more to it. I worry about its future. I think it will be like, I mean, have you ever heard anyone mention Rocket Arena since they showed it off?
It's such a weird feeling, isn't it? When you play something, you see something, and you're just like, oh, this is great, but it's doomed. Like,
yep.
Like, you just get a sense. It's like this is clearly great, but I can't see it getting enough traction. It's a shame. But I mean, hopefully you're wrong, but
I feel like this has already had more buzz than Rocket Arena ever did.
True.
And the fact it's on Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, but it's only because me. It's only because you're friends with me.
I mean, what is it on the Radical Heights scale?
Well, we'll see. But I mean, again, though, I will state this. Next time I hear someone go, oh, not another one of these, I go, well, on Rush. Rocket, Knockout City.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You didn't play those, did you? I hate you all. You're the reason this hobby's so stale.
And it's like you say, sort of, even as, you know, broadly people who would rather pay up for a game and just own it rather than, you know, piss about with free-to-play stuff. Again, you look at this and you're like, no, this is the sort of game that has to be free-to-play now. Like, that's how these games work.
How sad is that?
But it's shit. Yeah.
Well, Sean, play it this week, definitely.
No, well, I've got it downloaded.
Play it while it's still got players. Because not only that, like, it's great that I can sit and play in front of the kids. They love it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They love it. They walk around the house constantly going, it's all tied up, which is what the narrator says every time that there's an even game. And it happens constantly. It's all tied up. Just constantly. Seeing a 2-year-old belt that at 5 a.m. is pretty amusing, I ain't going to lie. Right, that's Knockout City. Definitely give it a go.
Yeah,
definitely give it a go. Sean,
hello.
On the last one on the list.
Sorry, I've got loads. I'll try not to take a million years. So I've been playing The Wild at Heart, which came out this week and is on Game Pass. It's very weird when you come across a game where you're just like, on paper, there's nothing original about this, and yet it's so obviously wearing all its influences on its sleeve that it's like, fine, they're not hiding anything, right? And and as a result, it sort of ends up being more than the sum of its parts, right? You start out, you're a kid or a teenager who's running away from home, right? And it's not been explicit yet, but I think it's sort of implied that your dad's an alcoholic, right? And you live in this sort of rundown house near this forest, and yeah, you're escaping, right? And the way it's sort of presented and the soundtrack and everything, you're like, man, Life is Strange as fuck. This is really cool. I really like this. And then you get out into the woods, and again, it's this beautiful sort of 2.5D art style, like all sort of, really beautiful sort of hand-drawn art. And it looks a lot like Don't Starve, but nicer. Like Don't Starve is quite sort of bleak, whereas this is all beautiful and colourful and stuff. And then you start wandering around the woods, and your sort of main like way of interacting with the world is that you've got a vacuum cleaner, and you're using it to like activate things, move things around or whatever, and you're like, oh, this is like Luigi's Mansion. But again, it's done well enough that you're just like, yeah, fine, this is cool, I like this. And then you start discovering magical creatures and stuff, right? You sort of you're running away from home into the woods, but then things go weird, and suddenly you're sort of transported into this sort of otherworldly, magical version of the woods, and you start making friends with these little sprites who run around at your feet, and you use them to solve puzzles, and you throw them around, and sometimes they fight for you, and sometimes they carry objects, and you're like, fucking hell, it's Pikmin! What the fuck? And
is it intentionally so, or is it just like?
Yeah, it is. That's what I mean.
Like it's so, a few dots.
It's no, like it's so blatant. Like it's literally like you'll move up to a rock, and it has like Pikmin. You move up to like a heavy object, and it comes up with a little icon saying there'll be like one number and then a line and then a number underneath, and it's basically telling you how many. Yeah. Like it's got that. And again, it's got the you're chucking them at enemies, and they're like kicking like giant toads or whatever, and killing them and stuff. And like, yeah, it's totally played for.
Okay.
But it's fucking great. Like it's been such a nice time. And again, really nice having something finally that I feel like I can play in front of Isaac. Like he really enjoys watching it. Yeah, just really enjoyable. Going around solving puzzles. There is a bit of like, again, sort of coming back to the Don't Starve thing, there is a bit of sort of gathering resources, and either selling stuff or crafting stuff, like cooking meals, stuff like that. Just like there's no like hunger or anything. It's not a survival game, but just sort of creating health items and stuff like that. I'm only a couple of hours in, and I'm now at the point where I've got like 2 different types of these little sprites, and I've got the fire ones who can do fire stuff and are a bit better at fighting, but not so good at carrying or whatever. And it's already like you can see there's like bits of the map that are blocked off by like ice stuff or whatever, and it's like, right, so there's going to be ice guys and then something else. And honestly, it's been absolutely delightful. If you like any of the games I've mentioned while describing it, it's well worth checking out. I've not played
art style wise, I think it looks gorgeous.
It's
really nice.
Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, as I say, it's sort of, I'm not too far in story wise, but it's sort of implied that it's going to deal with some like pretty heavy themes and stuff. But yeah, I absolutely love it. Definitely check it out.
Cool. It does sound good.
Yeah, it's proper good. The other game I've been playing is Hood, Outlaws and Legends. So this is the one we saw at... God, when was this revealed? I remember it seemed like a big deal. It was the one where, there was like it was all sort of pre-rendered, but it was essentially a sort of medieval heist game, right? Where there was, there was like an archer and an assassin, and then the guy who just carries the big hammer around and knocks the shit out of people. And it was sort of, the first trailer was like, look, here they are doing a heist in a cathedral or whatever, taking guards out, sneaking around, whatever. And then, there's another heist crew who's also going after the same thing. So it's this PvPvE game where so you're playing as Robin Hood and his band of merry men, plus Marion. And yeah, so you start a match, and the whole point is, so every match is you're in like an area, so it'd be like a town or like say a cathedral or whatever. And every match is the Sheriff of Nottingham is walking around, and he's holding the key to the vault. So you got to find him, nick the key off him. He's in like a ludicrous, massive suit of armor, and if he catches you, he just sort of grabs you and breaks your spine immediately. So you have to be stealthy and steal from him. Steal the key from him. Then you got to find the vault, open the vault, get a chest out of the vault, and then take it to like an extraction point and get out. But obviously there's another team trying to do the same thing. And it's a great idea, but I've not got on with it at all. First off, we've had loads of technical issues. Trying to play it with a couple of friends. We were just we were getting bugged straight away just trying to join the same lobby. Right, so you have like a camp where you unlock new stuff. Like it's all like there's unlocks, but it's all like cosmetic stuff, new skins and stuff. And there's like a little trading area and what have you. But that's your lobby. So we're trying to get everyone in the same, the same lobby, and it was like saying one of us was still joining, but also in the game at the same time, and then. Going through to like matchmaking, it would then like sometimes just drop people or whatever, and then you'd all have to quit out. The sort of thing that like I'm not saying is easy to get right, but just it's been a while since
it's the stuff that
exactly.
100%.
We also see that loads. I mean, the amount of times we've on loads of games, it's okay. Everyone hard reset your Xbox.
Exactly.
It'll get fixed hopefully.
So yeah, and then we were trying to get into games. Oh, that was it. That was the other thing. So we then thought, well, maybe this is because cross-play is enabled by default, which is cool that it's in there. But we thought, oh, maybe that's causing issues. Turned it off, could not find a game, like at all.
Oh wow!
So that was I mean, it's only been out a week and a bit, so that's not a great sign. So there's no actual matchmaking in terms of making sure you're playing against people of similar skill, right? So we're all like level 1 or 2 players, and it's putting us up against people who, bear in mind the game's not been out very long, level 100 players who I don't know if they've hacked it or what. I mean, either they have hacked it or... Well, sorry?
How does that always happen?
Well, this is
it's
it.
Like it always feels like...
Yeah, either there's an exploit or they've hacked it.
Everyone's in their 30s with kids.
Well,
exactly.
But surely, even with all the time, in the world on your hands, you shouldn't be able to reach the maximum level in like a week. So I don't know, or maybe it's the devs, who knows. But yeah, and then so as I say, there's all these different characters. 2 of them are stealthy, 2 of them less so. But like you've got your range stealth character, you've got your melee stealth character, and then there's Little John, who is just a big guy with a hammer, who but he can also sneak to an extent. But basically, what we found was most games we played, you'd go up against another team who just have 2 or 3 Little Johns, and will just storm the objective every time and just batter the shit out of everyone. No real requirement to be stealthy, and just unfortunately wasn't that enjoyable as a result. And it's just such a shame because obviously there's a good idea. It's a really good idea that there is something here. It's just unfortunately it feels like they never play tested it with people who didn't care about adhering to the dev's vision. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously they've created these 4 characters to sort of complement each other, and they've sort of made this game thinking, yeah, well, some
How
players
many players
will be
is it either side?
4 players either side.
4.
Yeah.
Why don't you just you select one of them?
Well, this is it. Yeah, just limit it to one of each character per team. Seems like an obvious.
They did that on
from games
Avengers, and people were getting annoyed because maybe one of your friends has only played as the Hulk, and well, someone else selected the Hulk, so now you can't do that.
They've done it on Apex Legends, and it was fine with that. They do it. They do it in Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
Fine with that and all.
Yeah.
Although there's more than just 4 characters.
Yeah.
Could this be reworked though, Sean? Do you think? If they,
as I say, I think it's just It's just, this game has come out into the real world and players have gone, well, I don't really care about I don't really care about playing this the way it was intended. And they're doing their own thing. And unfortunately, that also works and sort of breaks the experience for other people who were, who thought they were signing up for a stealthy heist experience.
Also, Robin Hood characters, they've never been you know what I mean? I'm not sitting there going, I want to be Little John. Do you know what I mean? It's not
I want to be like Friar Tuck.
He is in it. Friar Tuck's in it. And he's he's like a weird melee character, but he's got support abilities and stuff.
He heals, does he?
What's that?
He heals, does he?
I don't know if he does heal. I think he has a weird ability where he can see enemies through walls and stuff and helps other people.
I heard that about
Friar Tuck.
Yeah, he's famous for it.
That's pure Friar Tuck.
See through walls.
Yeah.
I actually considered becoming a
Robin
monk.
Hood has a bow and arrow. Okay. How do you give to the poor?
Well, that's the thing. You can, when you finish a mission, you can choose whether to you choose the balance of what you keep and what you give to the community. But then it's not entirely clear what the latter does.
Surely you should give all of it.
Yeah, who's giving it to the community?
Well, yeah, don't know. It's weird.
No one.
So yeah, just really cool idea, but just the implementation of it is somewhat lacking, and it is a shame. I do hope that they're allowed to stick with it and support it, because there is real potential there. I think once they've solved the sort of weird balancing issues, I think also another map with slightly different objectives, they're all the same format. So I can see that getting stale quite quickly as well. So yeah, shame. But I do hope they're allowed to carry on supporting it, as I say.
Maybe it's Foundations at least. Hopefully they'll tweak things and improve it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. The other game I've been playing is Demio. Or Demio. Is it I think they say Demio in the game. But
Sean, when I saw this on the list, I thought I need to have a look and see what this is.
Yeah.
I typed it in as Damio. By mistake, and do you know what that is?
No,
it's a board game. And I looked at it, and I was just like,
"Oh, hang on! What sort of board game is it? Because that might be an intentional reference. Then
it's an abstract strategy board game for 2 players.
Okay.
Invented by Christian Feeling in 2000.
No, okay,
it is a variant of the game Drafts.
Yeah. I typed it in wrong as well and ended up with pasta sauce. So it's, I love the sound of it.
No, so it's nothing like Damio. But so this is a Oculus Quest game where basically, PokerStars VR.
Yeah. I'm aware of that video game.
You've heard of it.
Very aware of it.
Basically that, but for a turn-based sort of dungeon crawling tabletop game.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I've lost you. I know, it's fine.
Do you play it with randoms?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Although I haven't done yet.
Have you tried that?
No, not yet.
You've got to try that, man.
That'd be fucking weird though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's part of it, isn't it? The weirdness.
I suppose.
That's part of the fun of PokerStars VR when you're sitting around a table. We've had games where we're just playing with mates or whatever, but it's always more entertaining to open a few seats up for some randoms to come in and just see what the fuck is going on there.
So it's sort of old Dungeons and Dragons style, sort of making your way through dungeons, killing enemies and stuff. But yeah, with this cool way of doing it, that obviously you're a floating mask with 2 hands, and there's other people playing with you, and you're all rolling the dice, picking up pieces, moving them around and stuff. And it's proper good. It's in game terms, it doesn't necessarily do anything that if you're into these sorts of things, it doesn't do anything massively innovative, but just for that sensation of
it doesn't need to, does
exactly,
it?
Yeah, it's just it's the fact that it's that, but in VR, and in a year where a lot of people will have been robbed of this kind of thing, if they had a group that they used to meet up with, it's probably been a while before they've since they've been able to do this sort of thing.
It is weird, isn't it? I remember playing PokerStars with my mates, and you'd play for an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is a long time in VR. And you take your headset off, and you just you have that weird feeling afterwards where it was my mate was just sitting there, it felt and now they're not. That is weird.
Yeah.
You do get those moments.
Yeah, totally. And and it's not you're all sort of stood over the table and that's the only way you can do it. You can, so obviously you can use your hands to sort of drag yourself around the table, but you can also pull yourself towards it. But rather than you just getting closer, it completely changes the scale of the table. So you can basically keep pulling yourself further and further in until you're essentially in the dungeon, looking around at what's going on, as if it was real size. It's fucking great, really good fun. I think there's only one. Go on.
Get this Dungeons and Dragon game. There's cards and stuff in it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you probably all sitting there thinking, Dave's going to rip on this, but let me tell you something. Let me surprise you.
Go on.
I think that sounds great. Yeah, what about that?
There you go.
Many layers to this onion. Do you know what I mean? You think you know me, you don't know me. All right.
I'm crying right now. This is beautiful.
Oh, I'm saying nothing.
What? Because the game or my revelation that I've flipped the view of my personality on its head.
A little bit of both. Also, you mentioned onions.
Cool. So yeah, been
does sound good, Sean.
Yeah, it's wicked. It's one of the few, like, you know, so many Quest games I've enjoyed, but it's always been like 20, 30 minutes, like, oh, that was a cool experience. And I do really like those things, but this is one of the few where I'm properly like, no, this is a computer game that I will put a lot of time into. You know?
Yeah, this is it. This is exactly the same situation. Every time I've used VR headsets, I've been like, yeah, this is a really cool experience, and look what this does, and this is good. But they always feel like gimmicky, like, as I said, like fairground rides.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's something to do for 10 to 15 minutes and enjoy for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's it. But then when it comes to PokerStars VR, I was like, no, I'm sitting playing this for like 2 hours straight. And I'm getting immersed in it.
Yeah.
And this style of game is perfect for VR. I don't really, it's the first thing I want people to try, because it's like, yeah, all that stuff is cool, but this, you feel more social.
Yeah.
You feel like you're more immersed in it because you're talking to people, and the multiplayer sitting around a table stuff has been the stuff, the things that have grabbed me more than anything else.
It was little things like, so again, like, you know, I'd be like hovering over this table, I'm like looking down at what's going on, and without even thinking, like, I just crouched to get closer to it, and just sort of having a look around, and just little things like that you don't even think about doing it, and you just it's great. Really good.
Dropping your cards and then looking under the table for it. Oh, we're bonding, Sean. We're fucking bonding, mate.
We've still not played PokerStars together, have we? We need to sort that out.
We're going to sort it out.
That'll be funny.
It's going to happen. We're going to do a community night. It's going to happen.
Yeah, man.
For sure. I can't wait.
The only other one is, and this will be relatively brief, started playing Final Fantasy X again because the HD version appeared on Game Pass, and I was intrigued. And fucking hell, you forget how weird that game starts. Who's played it? Any of you?
It's the only Final Fantasy game I've ever finished.
Okay, same. Same. So that's interesting. But yeah, just the intro is so fucking odd. Like, I remember, you know, you start off as Tidus and he's in, you know, Zanarkand, which is still, like, pretty incredible visually. Like, in terms of design, like, you know, obviously this is a up-res PS2 game. I think they've, you know, played with some of the textures and stuff as well. I can't imagine this is, like, you know, like a straight port that just happens to run in HD. Like, it still looks all right. And just, the design of the city is amazing. And then, like, I remember, you know, Sin attacks and it all kicks off. I completely forgot that there's, like, a whole, like, hour of just not really knowing what the fuck is going on. And, like, doing all those underwater bits and stuff, and a fight with a jellyfish. There's, like, so many bosses that just appear for, like, 5 minutes and then fuck off again. Like, all these, like, amazingly
That's a staple of Final Fantasy for me, though. I never know what the fuck is going on in those games.
There's also, like, it's like boss fight after boss fight as well, which is really irritating, I found, but, you know.
Really weird. But yeah, having a really nice time with it, and for some reason Isaac really enjoyed watching it as well.
It's got a cracking soundtrack.
Yes,
the soundtrack's
really good soundtrack,
good.
And it's all, like, well, mostly been sort of rearranged and re-recorded as well for this one, which is cool. It's one of those where, you know, the HD version just means it looks like you remember it looking, right? It just sort of bridges that gap. Like, it's not like, holy shit, they've, like, remade the whole game. It just means you're not looking at it going, oh Jesus, is that what it actually looked like? So yeah, it's good. It's really nice. It's a nice one to go back to. So, I mean, there's no chance I'm going to finish it again, but it's just, been a nice
You're not going to get hardcore into Blitzball?
No, I mean, I never did. Even when I finished it back in the day, I'd played that one mandatory Blitzball match and then never again.
Because I remember reading, like, online, people just saying things like, "Oh, this is just as good as, like, you know, it's like football or something like that." And I was like, "No, it's really not. It's really not."
Because isn't
terrible,
it like? I think don't you have to play Blitzball to get most of, like, Wacker's best abilities and stuff as well?
Yes, you do.
Fuck that, not doing it. But yeah, just a nice trip down memory lane, I guess. Be interesting to see how much I persevere with it. But yeah, it's been cool to go back.
You might want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake after this, Sean.
Yeah, I actually really should. But I never turn the PS4 on anymore, which is a shame.
Too loud. Wakes up the neighbours.
No good games on it.
James come over, mate. When James come over in a week.
Oh, was he listening to your PS5?
Okay, yeah. He said, I want you to turn your PS5 on so I can hear it. I was like, okay. And he's going right up to the fans with his ear and stuff. And you, James.
Yep. And
you walk straight over to the Xbox and put your hand over the vent to test the temperature.
Just curious.
So what was the verdict with the PS5 then? Is yours definitely too noisy?
It's definitely louder than David's. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, this is the thing though. It's not like ridiculously loud. Mm-hmm. It's just there's a perceptible noise.
Yeah. And when you know it is slightly worse than others, that must be great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you not tempted to swap it Indiana Jones style when you were at Dave's?
Yeah, should have done that. Although,
no, because Charlie would have rolled down the hallway towards him. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have worked. But yeah, the testing the temperature for the Xbox was funny.
I was just curious, you hear all the things about all the stuff. So I just have
fully agree with you. I like that's totally fine. If it's just watching your hand hover over the vent, I just chuckle to myself a little bit. It's not weird. It's not even weird. It's just like, of course, you want to. You haven't got that console.
It does look better though, doesn't it? I mean, it's just in the sense that it just
looks
fits
better
in.
by not looking shit.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like it could just be a speaker. Sitting there, which is much, much better for for a room like that.
They managed to make it look half the size of that. And obviously, we allowed people over now. And like Joe had her friends over for the first time in our new flat, and they were just like, "What the fuck is that?" It was like done. And I think they expect me to go, "Oh no, man, that's like really cool," but I'm just like, "No, I hate it. It's horrific looking." What can you do? You can't defend it. Jesus.
Just buy a bigger box to put it in.
I'm not constantly, but where would the air go, Matt? Like that's special. The flaps direct the air.
They do.
They do.
You'd have to just build the bigger box. Would have to just have more flaps on it. Even bigger flaps.
Okay. All right. We're done with talking about what we've been playing. Let's get to your questions, listeners. As if you didn't have enough of that last week.
We've got fucking loads as well. And there's actually loads of good ones, so I don't know where to make the cuts. But I mean, we'll see how we go for time, and I'll do it on the fly. If you want to send us...
last one.
If you want to send us any questions, visit tcgs.co/Dear TCGS. James is mass selecting questions.
Every single question as if he's going to delete them.
Hovering over the backspace key. SMW. Not gaming related, it's a great start. But how on earth does anyone afford childcare / going down to one income? Any tips? Very much appreciated.
They can't.
Yeah, it's just shit. It's just going to be a shit couple of years.
Hard part time. She's itching to go back full time just so we can live for another month.
Yeah, it's wank.
It's it's really bad, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
it's really bad.
The secret trick. That, if you know anyone who they all, like both parents work full time and they seem to manage, either paying for childcare or whatever, usually the secret trick is they've got grandparents nearby who are helping out. Certainly that's how we managed for the first couple of years. Each set of grandparents doing a day a week and then paying for childcare for the other days. Nu also rearranged her working days so that she works every other weekend, but she has Wednesdays off, so she covers Wednesdays. But then you get to see her every other weekend. So yeah, unfortunately, you just have to figure out sacrifices one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we just had to do the whole full-time thing. No one ever told me that full-time childcare would be like over £1,000. I was never warned about that
shocking,
beforehand.
Isn't it? I mean, obviously, once they hit 3,
we've got part-time childcare, and it's over £1,000.
Yeah, it might be different
South,
in London, but I mean, when I was in preschool and nursery and stuff, it's a lot of money. Yeah.
Obviously,
here's the shocker, right? Yeah. So the government give you a certain amount of hours a week at a certain age, so that doesn't start until they're 3.
Yeah.
So for the first 3 years, it's just like, nah, you just don't worry about childcare, right? And And then when you finally get the childcare, we were in a situation where Harry was in nursery part-time, and we said, okay, cool, we don't have to pay for nursery anymore because the hours that they're giving us for free covers the hours that he's in the nursery. And the nursery went, yeah, we're not doing that. What? Our charges are way higher. So
that's right.
Than what they're offering. So the only way we're going to let you do that is if he goes in full time. But that'll end up costing us more anyway. Yep.
Jesus.
What are you going to do? Find another nursery at this point? Nah. So we just didn't get those 3 hours of childcare.
Jesus.
Like, fuck you. Yeah, that was a bad situation. That was a bad day in the Turner household.
Yeah, but yeah, basically you just make sacrifices where you can until they turn 3, and then unless you end up in Dave's situation, suddenly you go, oh God, childcare is basically free now. Don't ask me why that's the system. Like, what, like, does the government think, oh, well, one of you can just quit work for best part of 3 years, and then it's free. So, well, what? Needed this like 2 years ago, for fuck's sake.
Especially when it's like, oh, so you letting us have 3 years paternity? But nope.
No, absolutely not.
No, you're not getting that.
Yeah.
Get back to work. We can't. Whatever. Do it. Sort something.
Yeah, it's because the people making the laws all got houses with like box of cereals and stuff, didn't they, when they were growing up? So it's like, they don't get it.
Political.
I mean, the good news is you're going to be so busy and tired and stressed the whole time. You don't really mind being skint on top of that. It's just it's not really a problem.
It's a small portion of the pain.
Yeah.
I do have those moments though where I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, how the fuck do people do this?
Yeah.
How do they do it?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yep, it is.
Oh, well.
Yeah, at times I thought, we actually did a math saying, like, if we both quit our jobs and went on a dole, or whatever it's called, would we have more money? Like, if we didn't work at all, would we be better off and actually see our daughter more?
Yeah.
Having to pay all this money and not even seeing her all day. It's just,
and
that's
especially,
the worst bit.
like, and I know it wasn't necessarily a fun experience, but, like, obviously you were furloughed for a bit last year, weren't you, Matt?
Yeah.
There must have been a part of you that was just like, what do you mean I have to fucking
amazing.
work again now?
Yeah, just getting spend time with Elodie.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think a lot of people have, like, had a taste of, like, just not having to work for a bit. And actually,
but doing that between the ages of 0 and 2
is
not
absolutely.
Like, there's no point where I'm going, I just want to give up everything and look after this kid because fucking hell, I appreciate
absolutely.
not having to do
that.
And
I think obviously there's definitely an argument that, like, the kid benefits from you having your own corner of your life that isn't necessarily anything to do with them or what have you. But yeah, anyway. Also, not a gaming one. Oliver Oxocube says, hello, my best friend is getting married next week and I'm the best man. However, I've told him I won't be doing a speech as I just can't do public speaking. I have a feeling he may try and spring it on me anyway, but I'm not sure what to do if he does. Do you think I'm in the wrong saying I can't do one? Have you guys, any of you guys ever been best man? Any other best man tips? Well, that's a lot. I mean,
can I take this?
If you want, yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
If you're really worried about doing a speech, like to the point where, I mean, everyone worries about doing a speech.
Yeah.
It's a really nerve-wracking thing to do.
Yeah.
There's no shame in being worried about it. What I would say is that when you ask, you should probably say no, because it's part of doing the best man thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the main job, and it's kind of like you've just got to, if it's really that bad, then you've just got to say, I don't think I could do this.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely speak. That's my point of view, and maybe your friends are way more understanding, and you would go, I can't do the speech, and they'll go, all right. But you should definitely say something if you're that worried about it, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be worse. If, like, thinking, what if they say speech time now? I'd rather know one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if your friend turns around and goes, oh, well, then I don't think you could be my best man, don't take it personally. Just go, I completely understand. No worries. I'm still going to really, enjoy the wedding.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can still go to the wedding, can't I?
No, you are bad. You are bad.
Really
this is the day before the wedding. What are we supposed to do now?
I think, like, it's getting more common for, grooms to just have, like, a set of groomsmen and not necessarily have one particular best man, and, like, so you've got, like, 2 or 3 mates and they've all got different jobs on the day or whatever. But, I mean, maybe that I've seen more of that just because, obviously, I've got more friends who are socially awkward nerds. But
oh God, I was listening to radio or a podcast or something where they were complaining about being a groomsman. It's like, I don't want to just be at the wedding. Pay someone to do that. I don't want to do these little tasks throughout the day. And I was just thinking two things here. One, you could say no.
Yeah.
Two, do you know how much stress that groom and the bride are under?
Yeah.
Right. 3, do you know how expensive weddings are? Just fucking hand some fucking leaflets out as the people are walking in. That's all you're asked to do.
Yeah.
You're getting a free meal. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's usually a lot of free booze about.
Yeah, man.
Just, it really wound me up that. I was like, these are people that haven't got married.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I was thinking.
Yep.
That day is stressful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean...
I'm going to be a groomsman soon. Very looking forward to it.
Oh, nice one. Yeah, I could do with a good wedding.
Yeah, big time.
Been a while.
I think we all could do. Yeah. Can't we? Except for James. James hates them, right?
I do. I hate weddings, yeah. Sorry.
Even we must have had this discussion before, but even friends' weddings.
We have.
The only wedding I've been to that is one that I've eventually enjoyed was David's. That's the only one.
Eventually,
that I
that. What do you mean, eventually?
No,
I didn't. Probably when I showed up.
The only one. I didn't say eventually. It's the only one that I've enjoyed was yours. I've not enjoyed any other wedding I've ever been to,
including your own.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy that at all.
Yeah, no, he's told me that before. He hated his own wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said, what did you say to me? I wish there were never pictures taken. That's what you said.
It's just
I never wanted to see it again.
Have you not? It's just, mate, renew your vows.
I just didn't enjoy it.
Fuck it.
No.
All right.
Hold on. Do you
James.
think it would have been different if you'd have done it like now?
Yeah, if I'd have done it now, I think it would have been different because I would have definitely wanted to have probably more control over it and done actually what we wanted to do rather than it just being. I know it is. That's the whole point, isn't it? It's for everyone else, not for you.
Oh no, fuck that. Weddings all about you, mate.
No. Well, no. I think there's a bit. I think there's a bit and a bit. Like there's. It's sort of half and half. It's
definitely.
not all about the bride and groom because you're inviting a load of people to come.
Exactly.
You want them to have a good time too, but then also it's not all about your guests either. You've got to have the day that you want.
Yeah, 100%.
So
that's what I'm saying, James. Do a renewal of vows and have the wedding you actually wanted.
I think, maybe not straight away, obviously, right? But I think Sean has got a point. Maybe you don't want to look back on a day like that and hate it.
Yeah, man.
Maybe renewing the vows at some point would be really good.
See, we had a weird experience as well because we had to do it twice. Like, we had it in China and we also had it here as well.
Okay.
And that kind of meant that it felt less special as well anyway.
Right,
because of the fact that it was kind of like across two places. And also, I'd been to so many weddings when I was over there and just absolutely couldn't stand them because they, like over there, they go on for hours and hours and hours and they're dreadful. Yeah, and so it's just like, I'm not enjoying this at all.
Oh, James, man, that would be something to think about in the future to actually say, we don't look back on our wedding situation with much, like, because Joe and I watch the video of the wedding once a year, on our anniversary and stuff, and it still gets talked about, and that's really cool. To have a day like that, man, you should do something.
Yeah, man.
I'll tell you, if I did do that, I'd just do just friends. I'd only have friends.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fine too.
Something like that,
Can I be the best man to do the speech, please? Please, James.
I just want to do the stag do.
I was going to say, can we not all be groomsmen and we'll just do a live show?
See, that's the other thing. I never had a stag do or anything either.
Oh,
really.
Man.
Oh man!
So that was
making me sad.
That never happened.
Well, we're live streaming that stag do. James, what you it'll be in hot tubs. It'll be fine. James, who would be your best man now?
Oh, don't ask him that on the show. That's weird.
That's a horrible thing to do, not on the show.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to say
you,
aren't I?
It's me, right? It's got to be me.
I mean,
me,
James, I'll let you off the hook. Obviously, you've known me for the shortest amount of time. I'm not expecting anything. Don't worry about it. I'm bowing out.
Yes,
Can't I just have all three as groomsmen? Can't I just do that? And then Dave can do a speech?
Cop out. No, I ain't coming.
I'll pay someone to do that. I'm not doing that.
Something to consider, James. Joe's really going on about getting an eternity ring. Have you guys had that yet?
What's the difference between a wedding ring and an eternity ring, please?
Don't know.
Okay. just another ring.
After 10 years or something, isn't it?
Right, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was like 10 years, but she was saying it after like the first couple of years. I was like, leave off.
I mean, even 10 years in the face of eternity, it's not really It's a drop in the ocean, isn't it? It's not...
No, I mean, till death do us part, right?
Yeah.
So when we do die, we can part. Come on, eternity.
Yeah.
Quite a commitment.
I hope that answers your question, Oliver.
So actually, that's often given on the first anniversary.
Yeah, that's what I just saw. Yeah.
Oh right.
Wow.
Fuck that. Yeah,
I'm
who's done
10
that?
years late.
Mr. Goldsmith has written that article, have they?
Well, this is it's like the
No,
whole
it's
like.
not them. It's
wedding ring
Mr.
strategy.
H. Samuel.
Actually, yeah.
Fanta. Nothing vicious.
But yeah, it's like the whole thing about your wedding ring is supposed to cost 3 times your monthly salary or whatever. Load of shit invented by a jewellery company. Anyway.
Also, that went up the more people said it to me.
Oh, really?
It was like, it's 1 month's salary. It's 2 months' salary. It's 3 months' salary. And I went, all right, Joe. You've said all this in the last hour.
I heard it was 1 year's salary.
Can you please read the next email, because the name of whoever sent it in is absolutely perfect.
This comes from Kettle Keith. He says, quick, you've been invaded by a zombie invasion. You only have the items in arm's reach to use. What do you have to protect yourselves from the onslaught?
Shit, a desk fan.
Yeah, that's a good start. Turn it on, you can fucking like it's a little buzzsaw or something. Yeah.
I've got a pair of scissors.
The desk fan doing that, can't you?
Yeah, I've got a pair of scissors here.
I've got a little pair of scissors that I'd trim my nails with, and a kazoo that doesn't work because Isaac screwed the top off.
Oh, coat hanger, fold up chair. It'd be like a WWE match.
Do you know, I reckon I could use my snowball, because I reckon you could bludgeon
That's the
someone.
point. Yeah, if you just that
will fall apart. That's it's an old mic.
Also, you get to record it all. All you'd hear is, take this.
I've got my PS5 in arm's reach, so
there you go.
There won't be any zombies surviving.
Yeah.
If you can lift it up.
I've got loads of Lego. I could just put that on the floor and the zombie would just go, oh,
I've got an electric drum kit, so if nothing else, there'd be a great beat behind it.
When's the last time you played that electric drum kit? I'm interested.
Well, a long time. About 2 weekends ago. But basically, when we got it, which is basically the best Christmas present ever, but then we'd realise, oh no, we need to soundproof the room, and actually we need to get a new door, and we need to get a drum mat, and so we haven't got around to it yet.
Actually, James, aren't your guns in arm's reach? The actual guns
he always keeps one stuff down his trousers.
Oh, they're in his loft, aren't they?
Yeah, which is not in arm's reach.
You don't just keep a little sidearm on your belt at all times, just in case.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, down my sock. Actually, I've
got one little Derringer.
Are you wearing one of those gun holsters?
Yeah. Just on my leg. Yeah.
No, I think over your shoulder. Those ones. Yeah.
Bandolier.
With your fancy glasses.
No. It's portable telephone.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Running 1 or 2 calls, chunk.
You're the cop.
Has anyone watched Army of the Dead that came out recently?
I haven't, but Tig Notaro's in it, so I'm interested.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's stupid, but it's an enjoyable 2 hours.
Yeah.
This ain't a film show, is it? Hey,
well, it bloody should be.
The cinema movie show.
Tig is sadly unutilised.
Oh, really? Shame.
But still good. Cool. I enjoyed it.
The next question. Sorry, that was my dog blowing her nose, if you heard that. Next question comes from Tassimo Terry. What, sorry?
He's doing a coronavirus test. You got to blow your nose before you stick that stick right up there, twist it around 10 times.
Have we talked about people discovering a fetish for that? Have we talked about that?
How could you possibly discover a fetish for that?
Due to COVID, people have discovered a fetish for having stuff jammed up their noses.
Oh, no, fuck that.
There you go.
I hate it. I sneeze 3 times. I gag 4 times. I have to wait for my eyes to stop watering, and then I sneeze after the nose one. It's horrible.
I've not had one. It's looking like I might get through this whole ordeal without a single test.
Hey, what? You're supposed to be testing twice a week, yeah?
Only if you're going into the workplace. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh man, you got to smash them though. I'm doing mine twice a week.
Just for a laugh.
You're sitting there looking over it, and you're like, "Oh, is it 30 minutes? Has that line turned up yet?"
Right.
It's a lot of entertainment in this.
You should do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
I might do. Corona calls. Is that offensive?
Tassimo Terry, which is very good, by the way. Enjoyed that.
I like that.
It says, hey guys, just wondering how Sean has been getting on with his radio-controlled car. He influenced me to get the same model and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Shame about the constant repairs I have to do to it, or maybe I'm just too rough. Would any of the rest of you be interested in getting an RC or drone in the future? Cheers, lads. Tassimo Terry. Getting on very well with it, although the battery charger that came with it is now fucked, as I was warned it would, because apparently it's like borderline quite dangerous. So I've ordered a fancy one from banggood.com, reputable website. So I'm very, very excited about a battery charger turning up in the house.
But I mean, yeah, I would be well excited about this sort of stuff.
Mate,
but yeah, we
so
ain't got the
much fun.
room. I mean, James, I was wondering this in the week actually. Did you must have picked up that Mario Kart thing?
I didn't know because we haven't got the room for it either.
It was cheap,
right.
actually. I saw it this week. It was
like 45 quid.
Really?
Yeah.
It did really well then, yeah.
What's that?
I said it did really well then, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. I've gone away with the old Labo. I mean, when was the last time you got it all out?
Yeah, it's been
You're talking about the Labo.
a couple of months for the Mario Kart stuff. But then we've got I've bought like other RC cars since, like really tiny ones for me, nice to race
like
around.
proper ones, yeah. But like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's still a pretty cool toy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not slagging it off, but
Fucking
I
is.
think if that drops down to like 20 quid, yeah, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
When you see it in the works by the end of the year, one of those bins.
Then you know you're in trouble.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, RC cars are fucking good fun, man. I mean, obviously, yeah, like we've got the tiny ones to just sort of, like drive around it in the house. But no, like my actual one, I wouldn't use indoors because it would fuck the walls up probably. But yeah, I
see most of them come with cameras on them now, right?
Some of them do. Yeah,
they shouldn't they?
Yeah, and get like VR ones and stuff. So you just get
nice.
like the racing drones where you have the little first person headset you put on. There's those, but for RC cars as well.
Did you see the Man City thing that they put out?
Yeah,
with the
it's
drone?
absolutely class.
No,
yeah.
no,
Have you seen that?
No, what was this?
Oh, you'd love it. You'd love it.
Well, no, Sean, have you seen the other video that went viral about going through like the bowling?
Oh God,
the bowling
yes.
alley in the restaurant.
And as a licensed drone operator, it made me feel fucking sick watching that.
It's basically that, but it's the exact same kind of thing. But they do it through like the Man City Etihad Stadium.
Oh, amazing.
It's fantastic. It's like so compelling to watch.
Yeah. No, it's really impressive. Maria Mendieta.
I should point out that James has been deleting. I've caught him deleting more.
I deleted one email.
Ooh,
Okay.
Which one was it? I want you to admit to whoever sent it in whose question you deleted.
Yeah, who did you delete?
Yeah, admit it and then apologise.
No, I'm not doing that. It's ridiculous. Go on.
What happens if I press the undo button? Does that undo what James did?
Yeah, of course it will, yeah.
No, it doesn't. It only undoes my last actions.
Really?
Well, we'll never know.
Okay, let's get on to Maria Mendieta.
Maria Mendieta.
That is.
It says, Dear TCGS Com Detective Club, on a 1997 episode of Games Master, a Virtua Cop 2 expert mentioned that he aspired to become a journalist. Having shooting skills for that job made no sense to me at the time until years later I realised he'd become a games journalist. Are there any games or related skills which have helped you in some small way within your professional careers, i.e. typing of the dead?
Don't we know this games journalist in a roundabout way? I remember speaking to someone and going, "Oh, you know such and such." It was the guy that did the two Virtua Cop machines.
Oh shit! I don't know.
Or maybe it was John. No, it wasn't John. Like it wasn't actually John.
It was like 7 years old, 18 Virtua Cop 2. No, I don't know. I mean, in terms of. Linking nicely back to the previous question, so I do some drone stuff for work now. And not that it's the same, but I do think a lifetime wasted playing twin stick computer games does sort of help when you're piloting a drone around.
Yeah, I'd say so. This is what my friend said. It was so weird. My mate Mark, who was my flatmate for a long time, we worked together, and he one day was sitting at his computer at his job and went, "Oh, fucking sick of this. I'm sick of this job. I'm going to become a pilot." And everyone took the piss out of him, and now he's a pilot. Right? And
nice.
He said that when he was taking his first flying lessons, they said you always know which ones have played video games and which ones haven't.
Really?
Because they're just way more gentle with the controls. Like,
I thought you were going to say they're just like taking the piss. Like, where's the turbo boosters? Fucking.
Yeah. Just pull this, do I? Well, no.
But yeah, it's like
a little bit gentle.
I've said this before. Like driving in real life is nothing like driving in a game. But if you spent a lifetime, sort of controlling things with like an abstract series of buttons and whatever, I think
when
it does
you're driving
help.
down a motorway and you're seeing one of those car carrier things with it down with no cars on it, and you think ramp.
Well, I've said this definitely loads in the past. But I've always thought, if I ever went into a skid, on snow or ice, I know I'd have to turn into it.
Yeah, but do you know in that moment? That's the thing that I'm worried about, because I've had the same fault.
Because
if I skid out, I know what I'm doing.
Natural, wouldn't it, at that point?
I think I'd be too busy being sick.
Instinct takes over.
Exactly, yeah. If I went on two wheels...
once you control the car, are you going to be reaching for the share button? That's the question.
What a moment! Okay, Matt, you've calmed down the skids. The kid, you're not skidding anymore. No, I'm going around the track. I'm still going.
I can drift. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm drifting.
It up.
Yeah, if the car went on two wheels, I know to turn into it rather than turn the other way. Yeah, these are skills GTA taught me.
Yep. MD Kriboff.
Nothing that helped me with my work, though. I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely
nothing in that regard.
MD Kriboff said, I've just picked up Splatoon 2 and Paper Mario for 20 quid. I feel like I robbed them. What is your best games bargain?
Oh, I mean, I've said this a lot. We've been asked this a few times, but I do it.
Oh, sorry.
£2.99 for Mass Effect 2 plus all the DLC. Well, not all the DLC. The unlock stuff.
Yeah.
There was a code in it. It was like a replacement for the online pass. Do you remember online passes?
Yeah.
Where they're like, here's the game, but here's a code to play it online.
Yeah.
The good
you
old
bought it
days.
second hand, fuck it, give us 15 quid. Like, that was
bad, wasn't it?
That was mad, actually, I think back.
Yeah.
That they tried to get away with it.
I think it was one of those things that we all knew was shit, but it was kind of like, well, they're going to get away with it because what choice do we have? And actually, seemingly... I reckon it probably secretly turned out it just wasn't particularly worth doing, because if enough people were either paying up or it was encouraging enough people to buy new games rather than second hand, I reckon they would have just carried on.
Yeah,
but
but this was EA. This was it the Cerberus Pass? I think it was
called. Something like
yeah, something like that. Anyway, so I went online and they were doing this weird deal where it was like $2.99 for Mass Effect 2, and it hadn't been out. Like, this is before Mass Effect 3 come out.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought it and it turned up, and I thought, it's not going to have the code in it for this stuff that actually completes the game. But I'll type it in anyway, and it fucking worked. And I was like, get in.
Amazing.
So yeah, that was, and I went on thinking that was one of the best games I've ever played.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
See, the only thing I can think of for this is all the PS4 games that I picked up at the end of the cycle, where they were all just really cheap. And I felt really good about that because I had a lot of fun with a lot of those games, and it didn't cost me very much, which was great.
By cheap, do you mean sub 70 quid?
I mean, yeah, like sub 10 quid mostly, which was quite nice.
Okay.
But it's still a bargain. Still bargain. I don't remember like my biggest bargain, but my most memorable bargain is when I eventually picked up an Xbox One because there's some crazy deal in Tesco that I saw on Hot deals, and people saying, if you buy this deal and bring someone else to the till, it gets ringed up at something crazy cheap. So I bombed over and bought the Xbox, and I think it came with Alien Isolation and some other games which I all sold to make it even cheaper. Oh, lovely old job.
I love the mispricing of that. I remember when the One X came out, and it was being sold for £150 in Asda's. And I went to my local Asda and I asked if they had, because it was a specific bundle. I think they were supposed to knock it down by a certain amount, from the retail price, but it ended up being put up for £150. And I went to the Asda and they were like, "Did you just call in?" I was like, "No." And they went, "Everyone's talking. They all want this new console. I don't know why." And I was like, "Have you got it?" But they went out back and they didn't have it. I was absolutely gutted. In the end, actually, I got it for even cheaper because the game did that stupid deal where you traded your old Xbox One in and then got it for dead cheap. Do you remember? They wiped my hard drive, and the listeners on Twitter started having a go at game, and then they suddenly contacted me and went, "Oh no, we will do it." That was good.
Yeah, very few things beat those kind of
fuck ups.
Well, yeah, and like the adrenaline you feel at the till. You're like, okay, do you have the thing? Oh yeah, I'll check. Like, oh my god, they've got it. They've fucking got it.
Thing is,
I can't believe it.
Because as useful as Hot UK Deals is, they've sort of ruined a lot of these, haven't they? Because it just means as soon as something like this is discovered, like thousands of people know about it immediately. So these things just get flagged.
Yeah, but how did you know about it before then?
It
used to be through smaller forums, wasn't it? It was like smaller forums. It wasn't
forums,
like
wasn't it?
it got posted and then somebody bought like 200,000 of them and put them all on eBay. You know,
I think my Xbox deal. I think I found that out on Rollmark. I think that was in like the bargain section in Rollmark. Shit! I don't know if that was a Hot UK Deals thing, but it obviously would have made its way there anyway.
Yeah. My best gaming bargain was when someone discovered that you could buy House of the Dead Overkill for less in HMV and sell it for more to GameStation. So made a bit of profit on a few copies of House of the Dead Overkill.
Profit on that.
Yeah, mate.
Lovely bit of arbitrage.
Kurt Lewin, last one. He says, "Hi chaps, 2 scenarios." We'll do one, then do the answer, and then I'll read the other one out. First one is, you're on the bus and someone in front of you gets their phone out and you can see they're listening to TCGS. Do you say hello to them?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, that's a no, isn't it? Because I mean,
leave alone.
If only because, they'll have the fucking headphones on. You have to be like a tap on the shoulder, which no one likes, especially when they're wearing headphones. It'd just be too weird.
And what do you say to them?
Like, you're listening to me.
I see you're a fan. Well, here I am. Isn't this
they'll be like, I'm more of a Matt Murray guy, to be honest, mate. So
I'd probably go on next stop. Yeah,
we're all saying, "Oh yeah, we just want to be polite." You know, it would be inconvenient for them, for us to just get in their space like that. Matt's like, "I want to avoid them at all costs."
Because how awkward is it going to be when they turn around? You're like,
they're not. Hi. They might not turn around, Matt.
I didn't want to leave up to chance. They might not know
what you look like.
That's the point. Do most listeners know what we look like? I mean, I know we're on the website and stuff, and we're on Twitter, but there might be loads of people who still have no idea.
I would say there's a large portion of the internet that doesn't know what we look like. Yeah. The internet?
The internet.
And our listeners.
Worldwide population. Well, you sort that out, because I think we're all pretty good looking.
I disagree.
Yeah, usually. High five there.
Yes, that's a unanimous no.
I would jump out of the back window, or if it was, I'll jump out of the window. If it was on a bus, if it was on a train, I would smash that red thing and just say, look.
Which really is like that time those girls came over and spoke to us in that bar.
Exactly. I was thinking that exactly the same. Yeah, just get out of there, whatever it is. Just get out of there.
God, I don't know. What was it? Were they actually flirting with you or something? Or
no,
they're just being nice.
No, we were just chatting.
Okay,
just being nice.
That's still.
And then Matt disappeared because he said, "I'll go to the toilet," and then he texted us, "We got to go."
Yeah. We got messages, didn't we? Like saying, "Come and meet me," and then we got to go.
That was a weird time. But I don't know. Just thought, no, I don't want to be here like this. This is no. Feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Second scenario from Kurt is, he says, you might not want to start talking to them on the bus full of people, as the other people are nothing to do with it, mate.
Yeah.
So what if you spotted someone in the supermarket wearing a TCGS hoodie? Would you say hello?
Oh, actually, probably I would then.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't do it.
I think even I'm more likely to do that.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm more likely to go, hey!
Yeah.
TCGS.
And then going, sorry, who are you?
Just go, David Turner.
There is that risk.
Oh, that reminds me of that situation at EGX where I saw someone with this shirt on and I went, hey! And then we completely misheard each other and I just thought, oh my God, has my eyes just gone crazy and that's not actually a TCGS t-shirt? And I'm like, bye! And it turns out it was. Yeah, it's actually a Paul Smith suit. I will say that listener I spoke to at the meet after, and they were wonderful, and it was completely my fault. So there's clear that up. But yeah, I had a meltdown doing that.
Imagine
if
I saw someone and I just sort of went like, "Hey, thanks for letting us be natural, mate," and they were like, "Sorry, what?
What
was that? Oh, did you not? Did you listen in 2019? No, when Dave left, I just sort of didn't." Didn't listen
are you trying to say? Sorry, mate. Are you trying to say? Thanks for living it. Is that what you're trying to say? Because you've got your own catchphrase wrong from your own show.
They probably say, I don't know what you mean. I've got their guy's t-shirt in a charity shop. I don't even know.
Nice TC Jessup, mate. Name 3 episodes.
You're not that horrible little man from that podcast, are you? Too many questions.
Too many.
What's your name?
Do the door. No, pathetic.
All right, that's it. Come on, Matt. Let's do the socials.
That's it.
So this Friday, James and I are going to finish It Takes Two. Now, Dave, are we 20 minutes from the end?
No, honestly, you're right near the end, so you might as well combine this with your mini game stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but there's loads of mini games we haven't unlocked, which we wanted to go and.
I know,
play
but okay. Well, maybe
James, maybe we should do it in a week.
We'll figure something out. Okay,
cool. Either way, It Takes Two finale. We're definitely going to finish it this Friday at 9. And if you've got Amazon Prime, you've got Twitch Prime Gaming, and with that, you get 1 free sub every single month. Please go over to our channel, search for TCGSCO on Twitch, and give us your free sub. We massively appreciate it. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/TCGS. In fact, today is non-Patreon content, but for everyone, you can watch our Patreon thing from last month, which is where we talk over old gaming news reports.
That was a very good one.
But if you are
a couple of surprises in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
A couple of little surprises.
Well, but if you are a patron, a subscriber, you can watch this month's one before it goes live everywhere else, which is us watching the Crypto
you
Factor.
absolutely need to watch that. I mean,
and
seriously.
That has a moment. Let me tell you.
This month's one with Crypto Factor. I mean, I thought it was good throughout the whole thing, but that one particular moment was someone turned around and said they watched it. It was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. So it's good. That's not me saying it for a change.
That's a real person saying it.
And tcgs.co is the website for everything else.
Cool. Thanks for living it. It's been a fun show this week. Sorry, I shouldn't be reviewing our own show like that, should I? But that's
Probably
what
10
I
out
You
of
know
10.
what? This one was actually quite good.
And if you agree, leave us a review on iTunes. Haven't done that for a while, have we?
Yeah. Leave a review on iTunes and tell a friend. It's the only way we get about. All right.
Yeah. Seriously, tell a friend.
And if you didn't like it, get in touch with what was it? Well, fucking Knobneck. Oh, Knobsock. Sorry, yeah. What was called?
We'll catch you next week. Take it easy, everyone.
He said isn't going to be listening to this show, but if they were listening to it, they would be livid right now.
Yeah, furious.
Roasted.
I'm looking forward to the next interaction with that particular listener. See you later. Goodbye, everyone.
Good night.
Goodbye. Love you.
Bye.
Goodbye.